Start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this class for budget and government schemes. Hello, everybody who is joining us online today. So, you must be familiar with the faculty who is joining us today, Jayant, Parikshit, sir. He is the faculty for economics and general studies at Vajiram and Ravi. You must are familiar, I know that, and you just came by, just listen to his name, right? The innocent kids of Jayant Parikshit, sir. So for today's class, we'll be discussing the budget, the recent budget, and all the government schemes, and how you can be incorporating the current affairs and budget in your answer writing. All right. So not taking much of your time, I'd like to call Jayant sir.
So very good morning to all of you, and a very good morning to my students. How are you guys doing? All good? To my online students, are you guys doing well? So I know that we are conducting this budget session after some gap. Now, this is not a typical budget session. The reason being that we are not going to study the budget line by line, word by word. That's not important. What we are going to do is, we know that there is something interesting about this year's budget. There are two budgets. One is interim and one is the full union budget. So what we are going to do is, we are going to extract whatever is relevant according to us, which will also be relevant next year. Because next year we'll have another budget. So our duty is, and we should be smart enough in doing this, that we should extract whatever is usable from here, whatever is usable from here, and we should add on from last 1.5 years of current affairs. And then we should compile a session which is going to help us in both prelims and mains examination as well as interview till next year. This is how we have designed this lecture for you guys. Now, I want to start with something interesting. So this is the budget document. So let me show you the original budget document, how it looks like. This is the one which is very popular. Everybody knows that this is the summary of the budget, which we study. It's not going to help in the exam. At max, it can help you in answering one question in prelims, not beyond that. So if you are sticking to summaries like this, absolutely useless and wastage of time. So then what should we do? Where should we study these things? Original document with a lot of numbers, number crunching? No. Who told you that budget and economic survey is written for UPSC? It is not written for UPSC. So what we have to do is, we have to make it usable for UPSC. So with this positive mindset, we have to extract whatever is usable, make notes out of it, memorize, and start using it in our mains answer as well as prelims. Easier said than done. It's very easy to say these things. But what I thought that in today's lecture, I will demonstrate you. This is called capacity building. And I am a firm believer in Dr. Ahmad Sen's theory that one should not be obsessed with material things, but capacity building. What is material thing? Notes. And what is capacity building? How to make notes. So I thought that we'll convert this session into a capacity building session, where we also learn how to make notes from economic survey and budget kind of documents, how to handle schemes, as well as at the end of the session, we should know that since we have spent our time in this session, we are going to use this knowledge for UPSC. So this is the background of what we are going to do. Now, you will get the handout from me. So I have compiled a handout for this session for you guys, but you will get that through a mail from Vajiram. You will receive a mail. So I request you guys that if you want to extract the maximum benefit out of this session, so refrain from this note making, etc., etc. Focus more on the concepts. Let's have more discussions. Wherever I feel there is a need to make you write something, I'll dictate it. So you should be focused on the concepts rather than the notes, because anyway I'm going to provide you the notes. It will solve your problem of efficiency. Okay? So this is what we are going to do. Online students, all fine? So that is what we are going to do. Okay? Now, you see, I have a friend. One of my best friends stays in Bangalore. I'm a Delhiite. I'm in Delhi. So what happened is my friend wrote me a letter. Dekho kaisa letter. Now, of course, this can't be the letter. Right? So my friend wrote me a letter full on this full scale page. So in that letter, the opening sentence was that, hello friend, how are you? He wrote me this, hello friend, how are you? I am doing well. Everything is fine at my end. There is nothing wrong in my life. And then he started to write about things, how his study is going, etc., etc. When I read that letter, I could clearly see that there is a problem. Because you also understand this. What is the opening line of the letter? Everything is fine, very generic. How can everything be fine in life? It is not possible that everything can be fine. Oh, one of my friends is saying, I'm also from Bangalore. So maybe Shivu, you wrote me a letter, right? So, so my friend is saying, everything is fine, very dangerous. And then he says, there is nothing wrong in my life. These two statements are a red flag. And we share a bro code. Everybody shares a bro code with each other. In friends, it happens. So bro is a very general neutral word. So bro code. Immediately, I called my friend and asked him what happened. He said, no, nothing. Everything is fine. I said, exactly, something is wrong. And then we started to have a chat about details of his life, my life, etc. And I found out, okay, this is the problem. So the budget of the government of India is exactly like this letter. There are a few things where the government of India would write very generic things. This. Now it is our duty, since we are going to appear in a competitive exam, which wants to select the smartest of the mind of India. So it is our duty to find out the details of some of the things where the government is trying to generalize it. And it is also our duty to leave out the things which is mostly done just to show off that, okay, we have achieved this. If it is not required, we'll leave it out, which means we should not behave like a political agent when we study these documents. We should behave like a bureaucrat and a learner and as a student, which means there should be no biases in learning these documents. So whenever you study a budget or an economic survey, think that it's a letter from a prime minister or government of India to us. Now we have to decipher the letter in great details and see, okay, what is happening, right? Wahi karenge, we will start this. So take out your pen and paper. We are going to do some calculations. We are going to understand some basic things related to budget. Have a look at it, please. Pehle dekhiye. And keep your pen and papers ready, okay? To my online students, Okay, very good morning. You are from J17. Very nice to meet you. I can see many of you from my various batches. Good to see you after very long. Now, and trust me, I won't lie if I say that I was expecting you in the session. Because 100% yes. Come. So now guys, focus here. So there is this interim budget which was released on 1st of February 2024. This budget was released on 23rd of July 2024. I have already made a small video on capital gains tax. And if you haven't watched that, you should watch it. Why? Because the date of release of this budget, which is 23rd July 2024, is very crucial if you want to understand what is the relevance of capital gains tax calculation. So capital gains tax calculation in India currently after the amendment depends upon this date. So if you bought the property before this date, some other tax will apply to you. So you have more options of paying capital gains tax. But if you have bought your property after the budget was declared, this date, then you will have to follow the new tax rules of capital gains tax. This is the relevance of the date. So you should definitely watch that video which I made on capital gains tax. So other than capital gains tax, I'm going to teach you everything. And whatever doubts you develop during the session, to my online students as well as offline, whatever doubts you develop, scribble it somewhere so that once we are done with this lecture, I will take up all the doubts and I'll answer your questions so that our preparation will be complete. Because doubts are important. Aapko pata hai, whatever doubts come to your mind, these are mostly those doubts which comes in UPSC's mind also. And these are the ones which will be framed as a question in UPSC. So respect your doubts. Okay, let's come back. So these are the two budgets. Ab dekho kya karna hai na? What we have to do is every budget has a background. Now, the government of India, when I was deeply into the budget and the survey this year, I noticed something that the government of India is trying very, very hard that in last 10 years, we have achieved this. In last 10 years, we were planning this. So they were basically presenting a 10-year of achievement kind of things in the budget and the economic survey. They were always referring to 2013, 2014, 2013, 2014. So what we are going to do is we are going to study the budget in that context. That why is government referring to 2013 and 14 as a benchmark year? Every second sentence of the budget and the survey, this happened 10 years back, this is happening now. Let us also go into that frame and let us see what happened 10 years back, and we will also examine what happens 5 years back. Okay, those things are important. So dekhiye, to make you understand this, I have got some news clip for you. Isko dekhiye. Have a look at it, please. So you can clearly see, this is an article from around 2013-14. What does it say? India is one of the economies in the world's fragile five. Fragile is very vulnerable. That means, very dangerous situation. Now, when you are very emotional, you become fragile. That also happens. Be careful. What is written here? Indian economy now in fabulous five. Oh, wow. Look at this. Fragile five, fabulous five. How does that happen? Something would have happened, right? Why we are called fragile five? What is the meaning of fragile five? And now it is called fabulous five, which means government made a reference to it in the post-budget conference. That earlier we were fragile five, now we are fabulous five, which means this can be one of the things which you can use in your UPSC mains answer writing, or the context can be asked in the prelims also. बहुत ध्यान से देखिए, this is not a budget session. This is a UPSC budget session. So we have to focus on what UPSC expects from you from these kind of documents. Okay? So first is fragile five, then is fabulous five. Now you see, something is mentioned there. If I zoom it, you can see top 10 fastest growing major economies in the world 2024. India beats US, China in this ranking. So this is the clip from absolutely updated one. See, July 2024. And who says this? IMF. So I have got IMF rankings. You see IMF data, August 19, 2024. These are the top 10 economies of the world in terms of their GDP. Now, look at this. USA, China, Germany, Japan, India, rank 5. See, rank is okay. But we also have to look at the performance in terms of some numbers. So, ye dekhte hain. Let us look at this. What is the GDP of India? Roughly around 3.94 trillion. Matlab 4 trillion we can safely say. As we are speaking, it would become 4 trillion. So, that's almost like 4 trillion. Look at Japan, 4.11. India is a big economy. See, when you are very hungry, if I give you one chocolate, you will feel blessed. You will feel, wow, heavenly. If you are not hungry, if you have already reached saturation, your tummy is full, you have already taken your breakfast, and then I give you the best of chocolate, you say, it's okay. So India is that kind of country which is hungry for GDP, hungry for success. So in these kind of economies, if you put your money, like 1 crore rupees, 2 crore rupees as investment, it multiplies very fast. And it multiplies a lot. Why? Because we have not saturated yet. Those economies who are small and those who have saturated, their growth is generally slower. So Japan, it is said that very soon India is going to overtake Japan because of its size as well as the very nature of India, which is growing in nature. So we are going to overtake this according to IMF. Okay, I'm just quoting IMF. And then IMF also says, Germany, you also be very careful because you are also developed. Since you don't have any hunger, the hungry country is India. So what will happen is, since India is still growing, the moment somebody makes investment in India and creates good policies, the growth rate will be very fast. So IMF is saying that Japan and Germany, you be careful. Because in next 10 years, in fact, even sooner than that. So they are saying that India might overtake both of them and come to number 3. Right. So let's see which are the other countries here. So USA, China, Germany, Japan, India number 5, then UK, France, Brazil, then India's best friend, and then Canada, right? So this is what is happening in the world in this ranking. Achha, Brazil is also very special. Why? Brazil is also India's best friend in a different way. Brazil is not our selfie friend. That's Italy. But Brazil is a different kind of friend. Why? Because the population of Brazil, the living standard of Brazil is quite similar to that of India. And we are also member of BRICS. And there is one more common thing between India and Brazil. What is the common thing between India and Brazil? Our trade agreement is there, but we have trade agreement with so many other countries in the world. So what is so special? That's trade agreement. What else? We are developing country, fine, but there is something very special. Sugarcane production, resource rich. South America is resource rich, we are resource rich. What else? We want permanent seat in UNSC, Brazil wants permanent seat in UNSC. That's one common thing. But even beyond that, there is something more which is common. Oh, this is very less known. So there is something, climate. There is something called as GBF Alliance. There is something called as Lewis model. Lewis model tells us that a country progresses from agriculture to industry. If you extend Lewis model, you will see country progresses from agriculture to industry towards services. There are two major exceptions to this rule. One is India, because India took a jump from agriculture to service. And the second exception is Brazil. Brazil also took a jump. That is why we are brothers in crime. We share a bro code. That is why we are helping each other. That, chalo friend, let me push you towards UNSC Security Council permanent membership. These are some of the things that you should remember. Okay. Now, okay, let's come back. This is the list of fragile five. Why do we even need to discuss this? Because one of the ministers used this in the post-budget conference. That fragile five became fabulous five. So it is our duty to understand this. So these are the countries which are in the list of fragile five. But important ye nahi hai. The important thing is, what is fragile five? When do you become fragile? Main batata hu. Now imagine that you are a very happy soul. You are all the time very happy and positive. One day you met a person and you decided that from today, my happiness will not depend on what I feel, but my happiness will depend on what the other person feels. So if I see the other person happy, I'll be happy. You connect your happiness and inner feelings with somebody else now. Other person is happy, I'll be happy. But you understand that the other person is not in your control. The other person has their own life. They have their own problems. They have their own good things and bad things. And every other person whom you meet in life cannot be happy all the time. So till the other person is smiling, you will smile because you are internally connected. But suppose one day the other person does not smile, what will happen to you? And you have said that my smile depends on the other person. You become fragile. So if an economy says that I will develop based on foreign direct investment and FII, foreign institutional investment, which means if other countries give me cash, I will use the cash to develop industries. If other country gives me technology through FDI, I will use that technology to create BrahMos missile. To create things. Very dangerous. Why? Because every other country in the world cannot help you all the time. So when your progress and development depends too much on foreign support in terms of capital, technology, etc., then you become fragile five. So I was an intern at Morrow. Very nice. So good, because this is one of the best companies to be with. So see, Morgan Stanley 2013, they coined this and they said there is a list of fragile five economies, and they said that economies who depend a lot on foreign capital and technology, eventually they become fragile and vulnerable. But for UPSC, itna hi aapko janna hai. So please write that an economy is generally termed as fragile. An economy is, to my online students, keep your pen and paper ready, guys. An economy, we are following the old school, huh? Just like a lecture. So an economy is called as fragile if there is over-dependence. If there is over-dependence on foreign support in terms of capital, and technology. Now have a look at the board, please. Acha bacho, there is one thing which you must learn when you prepare for UPSC. I told you that this will be a very good morning, guys. Very good morning. I miss you too, guys. So some of our friends are there who already attended the GS classes with us, just like you guys. So yeah, seriously, those memories are still there in the mind from almost all the batches. See, I might not know the name of everyone, but by face, I remember all of you. And if you ask me when is the last time you met me, I can tell you roughly that time. So it's good to see you here. Now, come back, please. When you prepare for UPSC, there is one interesting thing that you should learn. It will really help you to crack the exam very fast. So that one thing is, whenever you read a theory, a document, anything, you should apply a filter in the mind and say that let me use the filter and let me try to find out what is that thing that I have to extract and what are the things that I have to leave. Okay, there is a very famous saying that you should know which bridge to cross, which bridge to burn. So if you know that this is the bridge I have to burn, I don't have to memorize this, I don't have to make a note. Please don't. Because you don't have to become a note accumulator. What you have to do is apply the filter, take the important message, note it down, move on. Itna zyada I spoke and one line I dictated you, because that is the UPSC line. We'll do the same thing here. Because there's so much of data. This data is from Economic Survey and Budget, right? Oh, very nice. Good, welcome, JV. So this is from Economic Survey and Budget. Now we have to extract the right message, make 2-3 kind of lines of running notes and move out of this. इसमें अटकना नहीं, you don't have to get stuck in this. So देखो what is this. So guys, वही same story. Government of India always compares what happened 10 years back, what is happening today. Let's do the same thing. So this is 2013, 2014. 2013 के आसपास here, the rate of growth was roughly around 4.5, 4.6%, something like this. So now the government of India is saying, I am bothered about what I did. Government is saying this. So chalo, theek hai, we are also bothered about that. So government of India says that 2014-15, according to the new GDP formula, mind you, there is a new GDP formula which the government brought out, changes in the GDP calculation, that GVA concept, basic price. Very good morning, guys. So according to the new formula, the government of India revised the GDP numbers and government said that this is 7.4% rate of growth of GDP. This is 8%, 8.3, 6.8, aise karke, and see there is a slump because of COVID. So now what we are doing is, we are going to divide this entire decade into two parts. So look at the growth rate between 2014 to 2018, which means we are talking about this till this. If you calculate the average rate of growth, it comes out to be roughly around 7.4%. It surprised many people. But aapko pata hai, there is a rule of life. The rule is when you start from very low, whenever you take small steps, baby steps, those steps give you very high result. You started low. So what will happen if you start, if you are very hungry, one chocolate gives you kind of blissful feeling. So little bit of development also looks very big, called as base effect. So this was that phase. Plus a lot of new reforms were also taken. Let's not take the credit out of somebody. So yes, some reforms were also done, which was good. But come 2018, and we saw what happened after 2018. Look at this. Look at this decline. Now, when the COVID came, when people started to ask the question to government of India that why did your GDP go down? A very convenient argument was given by almost everybody. Because of COVID, GDP went down. But when the numbers were released, people saw it and said, no, that's not because of COVID. This is because of COVID, but that's not COVID. Why did that happen? And then it's like one of the arguments by the government and the policymakers was there was global slowdown, there was Indian slowdown. Because this is globalized world. So what happens in rest of the world also affects India. Agreed. Partially agreed. This is 1/3 of the reason. There are two more reasons, which explicitly nobody is saying. Which are those two reasons? First is demonetization, and second is GST. GST is a big disruption. And demonetization, people say, experts are saying, that demonetization was not done properly. So demonetization is not a reform. Demonetization was an action. But GST was a reform. When you introduce some big reforms in life, it takes time for the economy to adjust because we are not used to it. So demonetization happened as well as GST was introduced and there was global slowdown and there was Indian slowdown. And at that time, 2-3 other things were there. I don't know why people don't talk about it. The oil prices were high. Inflation was also a little high. And the agriculture production was also affected. If you combine all these factors, you will see that there was, of course, global problem. Other countries were also suffering. India was also suffering. But suffering became double or triple because of two specific things. One is demonetization and second is GST. So what happened is in 2018 also there was this. 2019 also there was this slowdown. Okay? And then you have this COVID time. Achha, again, rule of life, which I am talking about all the time these days. Basic, so there is something called base effect. When you start from very low, when you start from here, even one step jump looks very big. So see, during COVID, we came here. You take one step, you introduce Atmanirbhar Bharat kind of step, and immediately you see that little jump also looks very big because you're starting from very low. So when you start from very low, this jump looked very nice, 9.1%. So everybody started to ask the question to Government of India, is it a V-shaped recovery? UPSC also asked this question. Dr. Raghuram Rajan was saying, ऐसा लग रहा है, it looks as if it's a V-shaped recovery, but it's not. He's the only one who was saying all this. He was saying, no, it's not V-shaped recovery, because he said that this jump is there because there was pent-up demand. Well, there were a lot of demand which people had suppressed. So I wanted to buy a mobile phone, I wanted to buy a bike, I could not. I wanted to go on a vacation, I could not. But the moment COVID lockdown was over, all of a sudden everybody jumps in the market and says, phone, where are you? Right, so this is the way we spend money in the market. So, ये सब करोगे, when you spend a lot of money, obviously your GDP will rise. So this was that rise, which Dr. Rajan was saying that this is because of that. So now, Dr. Rajan raised a question. He said that according to me, when this suppressed demand will be fulfilled, then there will be decline in GDP. And he said, dekh lena aap. So decline in GDP. Right. And at that time only UPSC was asking a question, that is India experiencing V-shaped recovery, K-shaped or W-shaped? So again decline. And everybody said, see, we told you. Government of India said, hold on. This will keep on declining if we don't create reforms in the economy. But somehow, if we are able to create the reforms, control the inflation, increase investment in the economy, ease of doing business in the economy, again, this will rise. This was the line of the Government of India. It rose. Either rose or remained constant. Good thing. Which means everybody who was skeptical about India, that no, this is fluke, this is by mistake, it will come down like this. It didn't happen. Even IMF was surprised. Because even IMF was not very sure what will happen to India. And everybody is saying, ha, theek hai, 5%, 6%. India surprised everyone. And this became 7.3%. And now everybody in the world, all the agencies have revised their estimates and they are saying, no. India is conducting some reforms. And if India follows the reform path, definitely will maintain 7%. Government of India at that time said, hold on, see, this is your 2021, this is 2022, this is 2023. Government presented a figure. In this budget also, a survey, it is mentioned that in last 3 years, we have crossed 7%, just like these days. So government is saying that this is not a fluke, this is not a mistake, it's well designed. But what happened in the first quarter of 2024-25? Abhi to, first quarter. What is the first quarter? April, May, June? Yeah? First quarter. So what happened in the first quarter? We have the results. In the first quarter, 6.7, GDP has come down. I can tell you 2-3 things about this first quarter, and then you will start to see the connection. Acha, this is what I have to prepare for UPSC. Ab dhyan se dekho connection. So guys, if you read the newspaper these days, a lot of articles are coming. Yes, we are out of base effect. A lot of articles are coming which says that automobiles are being sold in India at heavy discount. है नहीं है बताइए? Am I right or wrong? To my online students, बताइए. Automobiles are giving a lot of discounts, and what are they saying? I'll tell you. So, for example, Mahindra and Mahindra, Tatas, everybody is giving discount, 1 lakh rupees discount, 70,000 discount, 2 lakh rupees discount. And if you ask them why discount, so they are saying in the advertisement, discounts are being offered because we are celebrating 1 year of the new model. Wow. Such batao why discounts are being given. Because a private company, a capitalist would not give you discount like that. Every discount has a price behind it, right? So very good morning. So what is the government of India doing? Government of India asked the question, bhai, kyun de rahe ho discount? So these automobile companies said, government, in last year, 1 year, we produced a lot of vehicles, thinking our GDP is high, which means that people have the purchasing capacity, they will buy the vehicles. Nobody bought the vehicle. There is unsold stock. Why nobody bought the vehicle? Kuch to hai garbad. There is something wrong. Because if you look at the number of vehicles sold in India, if you look at the items like number of cement packets sold in India, you will get to know what is the condition of the economy. So when your GDP goes down, there are some things called as high frequency indicators. It is called as HFC, high frequency indicators, HFI. What are high frequency indicators? These are those numbers which give an overall picture or an overview of the economic performance other than GDP. So your GDP is coming down, but there must be a story behind it. Why GDP is coming down? And how do you know there is something wrong? So if you look at high frequency indicator, for example, electricity consumption, cement consumption, steel consumption, number of automobiles sold in the Indian economy, these are your high frequency indicators. And you find a terrible picture. You find, wow, automobiles are not being sold. Acha bataiye, when you manufacture automobile, what do you use as raw material? The biggest raw material that you use, input, steel. So what happened to steel production last year? India is the second largest producer of steel in the world. India exports steel also. But let me tell you something interesting about the steel of India. So India is the second largest producer of steel. But last year, 2023 to 24, we produced a lot of steel, but we also imported a lot of steel. Ye kaise ho gaya? We are the second largest producer of steel and we are importing steel. Why? If I produce something, why will I import? There must be something wrong. Bachcho dekho, I am preparing for UPSC. I prepare my own current affairs notes. I mean, literally, I'm not preparing. Aise bata raha hu. Some of you got worried. Ye kab hua? Right? So imagine that I'm preparing for UPSC. I'm preparing my own current affairs notes. And yet, when I meet you outside the class and I see there are notes in your hand, which is your notes. So what I do is, very silently, I tell you, hey, can I borrow your notes? You will say, yes, you can borrow the notes if you give me a burger or if you give me a momo treat, momos. So they go, why do I want your current affairs notes despite the fact that I have my own notes? Kuch to gadbad hai, there is something wrong. So government of India tried to find out that how is it possible that there is so much of steel in India produced in India. India is importing steel. Hai na, there is one problem. The problem is, suppose the price of steel in India is rupees 100 per kg. Example, price of steel last year. India checked the price of steel in the global market. And guess what we found? Price of steel in the global market, 85 rupees per kg. If you include import duties and everything also, put tax also, add everything, still it becomes 95. If you add taxes and all, 95 rupees per kg. So the Indian industries realize, wow, that's nice. Why should we buy steel from India? Tatas are selling steel, but Indian companies are saying, nahi chahiye aapse steel. We'll buy steel from outside. We started to import steel. India became an importer of steel. Wow. Why? Because our steel is costly. Question is, why is our steel costly? That's the biggest question. So our steel is costly for many reasons, but one precise reason. One of the reasons is that in the manufacturing of steel, you use iron plus coking coal. Right? This is what we use in the manufacturing of steel. Now, what does India do? India is a very good producer of coal in the world. We have coal deposits, but the quality of our coal is not very good. Yes, the carbon content is less. The calorie value of the coal is very less. That's called calorific value of the coal, which means the heating that comes out when you burn 1 gram of coal is very less compared to, for example, let's say Australian coal. So now what India does is India imports a lot of coking coal. So now you are importing coking coal and then you are mixing it with iron and you are creating steel. And India imported hell lot of coking coal last year. So it increased our cost. That's number one. Number two, inflation. That was also there. Number three, our interest rates were high. So the companies which are manufacturing steel, they are also borrowing money from the bank. See, monetary policy, interest rate increased. Fuel prices, now inflation, high. The fuel which is used in the industry is little high, petrol, diesel, etc. So if you add, average wages in India have also increased. So compared to other countries, some other countries. So if you add all these factors plus coking coal, you will see, okay, that is the reason. Which means that these factors are not the factors which are only affecting the steel industry. These are the factors which is also affecting the automobile industry. So now government of India realize, acha, so automobile industry is not doing very well. Steel industry is doing well, but we are importing also. That's another problem. Manufacturing industries are facing the same problem, little higher wages, high interest rate, inflation, etc. These are the problems we faced. So immediately government of India realized, oh, that's the reason that it is coming down. So if you are the government of India, what exactly would you do to cure these problems? First thing, you will talk to Monetary Policy Committee and you'll say, can we do something about this? Monetary Policy Committee will tell you, yeah, we can do it. I mean, yes, but we don't want to reduce the interest rate because it will lead to inflation, which means they can't do much for you. They will not change the repo rate because if they change the repo rate, entire dynamics will be disturbed. That is why the RBI is saying, we are not in the mood to change anything in India right now. We want to maintain it. Then government says what to do. We can't reduce the wages also. How can you reduce the wages? It will be labor exploitation. Then kya karenge? Think. Acha, coking coal. So India is buying costly coking coal. So what will India do? India will talk to those countries which are selling us coking coal and will convince them that, hey, buddy, see, you are selling coking coal to us on year-to-year basis. Why don't you sell the coking coal to us for next 5 years? We are ready to buy it for next 5 years. Long-term contracts. So what do? When you buy something for long term, you get some discounts. You buy one pen in the market, 20 rupees. You keep buying pen every day in the market or every week in the every day kyun loge? So you buy pen every week in the market from the same store, they will sell you the pen for 19 rupees. Problem solved. Right. So this is one of the things that we do. Second, एक और problem in India में, there are many other inputs which are also used in industries. So what does government of India do? Government of India is trying to talk to some other countries which are selling inputs to us. And we are trying to convince them that, hey, please don't sell costly inputs because if you sell us inputs at lower price, we also have many things to offer to you like medicines, like electronic items, which means India is trying to strike trade deal with many, many countries of the world from where we are buying raw materials. This is one clever tactics that we are trying to do. So you will see going down the future, which means in next 5 years. That's my assessment. It's not written anywhere, but I guarantee you this, that going down the future in next 5 years, you will see India striking lot of free trade agreements and trade agreements in general, specifically with those countries who supply us raw material. Aap dekh lena. This is bound to happen because India is looking for cheaper sources of raw material in the world because this is troubling us. So if somebody will ask you from today, dhyan se dekho, for UPSC, what are the things that you need to know? UPSC might ask you which of the following statement is correct related to long-term trend of GDP. Ab dekho UPSC related points. So this is called as long-term trend. What is long-term trend? You study the behavior of the economy for at least 5 years to 10 years. That's called long-term. So if you are looking at the long-term trend, dhyan se dekhiye what is happening. 5 years, it's good. After this, down. Again, it is picking up. So there is no single trend. Good, bad, but not ugly. Good, bad, and again good. This is what is happening, right? Mixed. But if somebody tells you what happened in last 5 years, फिर आप बोलोगे, oh, obviously in last 5 years, we have revived ourselves or we are trying to revive. Now, there are two more points that you need to note down from the prelims. मैं लिखवा दूंगा आपको. From prelims perspective, the first is, India is the second largest producer of the steel in the world. But last year, as an exception, we imported a lot of steel because domestic price was higher than global price. This can be one of the statements in UPSC prelim. ऐसे पूछते हैं वो. India is the largest producer of rice in the world. ऐसे these are the questions they ask you these days, just to trouble you, right? And next statement could be that what is the performance of India in the field of coal sector, coal industries? Yeah, performance was good. We produce a lot of coal, but unfortunately, we imported a lot of coking coal. This is also what you should know. Since I told you this will be a lecture on capacity building also, there is one thing that you should immediately ask yourself. Ye sab to theek hai, but what is India doing to promote steel and coal? Immediately your mind should run in that direction. And immediately something should strike you. Acha, to promote steel, Government of India is promoting production linked incentive scheme. We are promoting steel production and manufacturing through PLI, production linked incentive. What is Government of India doing in the field of coal? There is one thing which government is doing in the field of coal. One beautiful thing that the government is doing. Kaun sa cheez? In coal, there is a scheme, beautiful scheme. And it helps Government of India to solve two problems. Coal gasification is one. Very good. Interesting. Coal gasification. ये क्या होता है? लिख दूं यहाँ पे. Coal gasification. See, he's right. So for example, बच्चों, let's say that there is a furnace. This you will typically study in science and technology. So there is a furnace. What you do is, यहाँ पे you put coal. Then what do? You regulate the temperature and pressure. And then you put two things here. One is hot air, which means mostly oxygen. And the second is water. So you put air, oxygen, as well as water inside it in a regulated temperature and pressure. And you know, yes, coal, you know what will happen because of this? There will be a reaction. I'm not going to balance the chemical reactions. That's not important for UPSC. But what we are going to get out of this is coal, carbon, and you have oxygen, you have water, H2O. So what is the reaction? What do you get out of this? You get carbon dioxide, you will get methane, you will get carbon monoxide, plus water vapor. You'll get water in the vapor form. This is syngas, synthetic gas. That's called synthetic gas. And it's so easy for the Government of India. Government of India will pick this up, put this in, and transport. Gas is easy to transport than coal. It saves your transportation cost. And it's a clean fuel. Why do we need clean fuel? Look at the connections. Why do we need clean fuel? Kyun chahiye? Because India has committed under Paris Convention that India is going to make sure that we are going to reduce our fossil fuel consumption by 2030. So India has committed by 2030, out of the total installed capacity of power in India, electricity in India, 50% of it, 50% of total installed capacity of power should come through non-fossil. Non-fossil means clean fuel. And where have we made this commitment? Paris Convention 2015. So India is a signatory to Paris Convention, and we have given a roadmap under Paris Convention that by 2030, India makes a promise that India will make sure that roughly 50% of our installed power capacity will come through non-fossil. Okay? That is why this syngas is important. So in the coal sector, this is something very important. There is one more thing in the coal sector. This is how you should prepare for UPSC. If somebody says, "हाँ budget मतलब read the numbers," that's very bad way of studying budget. ऐसे थोड़ी है. You don't have to become a PPT reader and a meme player. वो सीधा उठा के meme and PPT start reading. What is the purpose of doing all this for UPSC? I don't see a purpose. So when you are studying for all this, the moment you use the word coal, immediately it is our duty to go back in last 1 year and see what has Government of India done to promote coal. So very good answer given by you. One is this syngas, and the second point I'm looking for coal sector. No, that's not new. Something new is there. Okay. First mile connectivity. What is government doing under first mile connectivity? So this scheme was launched in Madhya Pradesh. Again, whenever you read a scheme and there are some new names in the scheme, immediately you should note it down for map work. There are two names here. Acha bataiye, do you know my name? Kya naam hai? Oh, Jayant, right? It's very funny. I mean, it's so embarrassing. One of the places in MP is called Jayant. And now you can laugh about it. Thank you so much. Right? There is, you remember this, right? So, ऐसे आप बोल सकते हो, Jayant is very bad. Sir, I'll say, why are you calling me bad? You'll say, no, sir, I'm talking about this place. What's this place? Dudhichua. So these two places are located very close to each other. And this is near a very famous place called Singrauli. Singrauli coal mines, Asia's largest open coal mines. Now, Singrauli is also called as the powerhouse of Asia because the electricity that is generated there in the NTPC, entire electricity depends on the coal supplied by Singrauli coal mines. This question has already been asked in prelims. In prelims, it has already been asked. And in the old system of mains examination also, this question was asked in mains, where you had to explain Singrauli and Singraini. So now, nearby Singrauli, there are two places, Jayant and Dudhichua. These two places are also in news because the government of India, the Prime Minister, launched this scheme in Jayant and Dudhichua at one go. This scheme kya hai? The scheme is that suppose there is coal mines here. Coal mine, huh? Now this coal mine extracts a lot of coal. That coal is put in the trucks, and these trucks, they carry the coal to different parts of India to thermal power plants to generate electricity. Now, when you carry coal using trucks, etc., what happens is fuel consumption happens, pollution happens, carbon emission happens, plus whatever is the cost of transportation of this coal because of the truck, it is added in the price of the coal. So government of India realized that's very bad. So to remove this problem, two things are done in India, and India has got an appreciation for this. One is gasification. So near these mines only, furnace is created, and you try to convert some coal into methane, and then you transport it, syngas. And there is another thing which the government is saying, ye nahi karenge, because Indian trucks are very old. They lead to traffic jams also. Road network is poor in many areas. So government of India says, nah, this is not good. So what is the government of India doing? Logistics plan. So what is the government of India doing under that? Railways. So government of India is trying to directly connect these thermal power plants with railways. Railways are faster, they are relatively cheaper, and government of India is saying that the logistic cost will come down. So the coal cost in India will come down. And because of that, manufacturing industries would benefit, and many of our goods would be easily competitive in the global market. Because when fuel cost comes down, coal cost comes down, your steel will become better. Your manufacturing industries will get the benefit. Your cost of production will come down, export will also increase. So these are the two things that you should immediately know. तो अब आप समझ रहे हो how to study budget. ये budget का मतलब ये नहीं होता है that you look at GDP और यहाँ से सीधा देखा and you start to comment that government did this, government did not do this. ये सब नहीं करना होता बजट में. You don't have to do it like this for UPSC. The moment it is down, the first question that you should ask is क्यों नीचे है? Why did it come down? And then you should immediately connect it with steel and coal. And then you should try to argue what is government doing for steel and what is government doing for coal. And then you should write the name of the scheme and some important points. Then your preparation is complete. लिखे that recently, that is in quarter 1 of 2024. In quarter 1 of 2024, there has been a decline in GDP because of both domestic and global factors. There has been a decline in GDP because of both global and domestic factors. Full stop. It is also reflected in the high frequency indicators. High frequency indicators. Underline the high frequency indicator, guys. Now, since we are preparing for UPSC, we will write the definition of high frequency indicator. Otherwise, the preparation is not complete. So please write HFI, high frequency indicators. HFI, high frequency indicators, are macro indicators like electricity consumption, sale of automobiles, consumption of core items like cement, steel, consumption of core items like cement, steel, and so on. It gives an idea, लिखिए बच्चों, it gives an idea about the demand in the economy. Supply, as well as overall sentiments. Please put a full stop. अब देखो, I'll just speak one line on this so that your wider perspective is opened and so that you can see the connections between different things. ध्यान से सुनिए, it's the most interesting thing. Now, I also invest in capital market. I invest in shares, I invest in bonds, mutual funds, derivatives, etc. One of the things that I do before I make the investment is as follows. देखो, conventional things, so anybody does it. We study the numbers and all, but there is one specific thing which I do. So whenever I have to purchase the share of any company or any particular sector, like energy sector, automobile sector, I would look at the high frequency indicators. Through high frequency indicators, I get to know what is the mood in the economy. Because if high frequency indicators are down, electricity consumption in the economy down, cement consumption down, steel consumption down, iron consumption down, I understand that is the best time to invest in the share of automobile company, because that clearly means they are not able to sell, their value is low, shares will be cheaper. So I will buy the share of that company because I know that after 6 months, correction will happen in the market and government will take some steps or companies will offer some discounts in their vehicles so that people will buy more vehicles. And when the economic performance becomes better, the share that I have bought, its value will rise and I'll sell it. Simple. I'll become Hindenburg. I'll sell it. Simple. समझ रहे हो आप? So what I do is, this is one of the things I do. So when high frequency indicators are showing very bad numbers, I know performance of the economy today is not very good, but there is a rule of life. Nothing remains low forever. If it's low today, it has to rise tomorrow. So if I have some surplus fund like 10,000 rupees in my pocket, and I know that automobile industry is not doing well, but I am seeing the high frequency indicators, and indicators are showing me, little indication is there, that slowly the consumption of electricity and steel is slowly rising. Immediately I'll buy the shares of automobile because I know today it is low, but high frequency indicators are showing that it is improving. I know after 6 months it will improve. Which means, if what is my point? What am I trying to tell you? To trade in shares? No. I'm trying to tell you that if UPSC will ask you a question, that which of the following is the repercussion or impact of high frequency indicators? It impacts the market value of the shares. Yes. It impacts MCAP, market capitalization. Yes. It impacts capital market. 100% yes. It impacts inflation. Yes. So these are the ways in which you can understand what is the connection between different things. आप समझ रहे हो? This is how you should prepare for UPSC. अभी थोड़ा और देखेंगे. We'll get more flavor. This you wrote, no? That is it. Now you please write steel and coal. उसके ऊपर we have to write. So please write steel and coal. Steel and coal. Yes, very nice, Satish. You took the right term. In fact, I'm going to teach you that today. Very nice. Good to see. So please write steel and coal. लिखे. India is the second largest producer of steel. Second largest producer of steel. Yet India imported huge amount of steel. Huge amount of steel. In 2023-24, in 2023-24, because the relative price of steel in the global market has been lower compared to India. The government has introduced PLI, production linked incentives. The government has introduced PLI for steel sector. Okay. Now let's write for coal. Okay. India increased the production of coal over last 5 years. बच्चों, let's draw a diagram. Let me show you what statement will UPSC ask you. ये देखिए बहुत खतरनाक statement, very dangerous one. So see, what are we doing? Look at this, guys. In last 5 years, what has happened? Our coal production has increased. ये तो ठीक है. We should be happy. But there is one more line. What about the consumption of the coal? So our production is rising, no problem. But our this is coal production. And this is coal consumption. So what is happening to our consumption? Our consumption is also rising because we are producing more electricity and we are using coal as a fuel. So our consumption is also rising. Our production is also rising. But there is something beautiful happening in India. What is that beautiful thing happening in India? Let's look at the gap between production and consumption. Rising or falling? Decreasing. So that's your consumption. That's your production. So it is mentioned in this year's Budget and Economic Survey that the production of coal is rising in India. We wrote it. It is also mentioned in Economic Survey that the consumption of coal is also rising. And the third statement mentioned in the Economic Survey and the budget is that the gap between consumption and production is closing. And you know that UPSC has a very bad habit of asking factual questions by converting it into qualitative statements. Which of the following statement is correct about coal sector in India? Coal consumption is rising in India since last 5 years. Yes. Coal production is rising. Yes. The gap between consumption and production is closing down. Yes. ये तीन statement we have to write. So please write the second statement. You're most welcome. Please write second statement. The coal consumption is consistently rising. The coal consumption is consistently rising. The coal consumption is consistently rising. ठीक है? Third, please write. the gap between production and consumption, the gap between production and consumption is narrowing down. See, it is narrowing down, isn't it? It is narrowing down. So that's a good thing, no? Isn't it? That's a very nice thing that is happening. Ab scheme likh lo, please write that. Next point. Thank you. Please write next point. India imported costly coking coal. India imported costly coking coal in 23-24. Good to see you, Pushkar. Thank you, Chill. So India imported costly coking coal in 23-24. In 23-24, which also impacted the steel prices. Right. Next point. The government initiated first mile connectivity scheme. The government initiated first mile connectivity scheme to reduce the transportation cost by replacing road with railways. For the coal sector. And bacho, in bracket, you should write 3 names for your map work geography. The first is, you know, my name. The second is the place which is very close to me. This place is also very close to me. So these 3 names you should write. Likh lijiye. No problem. So those of you who joined us a little late, maybe you were having some other classes. So welcome to the budget survey and government schemes class. Right? It's all in one class. So, so guys, these are the 3 things that you should note. Dekho, pata hai kya? I believe in one thing. You tell me, you correct me if I'm wrong. One can never prepare for economics alone. It is not possible. If you start to see that I'll prepare for economics and then I'll ignore other survey, kaise ho sakta hai ye? How can you ignore these 3 places for map work and you prepare economics? It is not possible. So if anybody tells you that budget and economic survey is about economics only, absolutely wrong. So budget and economic survey is about the overall progress and overall agenda that the government is following in totality. It can never be economic, possibly nahi hai, because there is no meaning of money unless you know other subjects and other areas also. Kya hi fayda ye jaan ke that GDP of India is this if you don't know what was done in coal sector, steel sector, automobile sector, what happened to high frequency indicator, what happened to capital market. Ye sab important things are there. Isi tarah se there is no meaning of economics if you don't know what is the government of India's effort to reduce poverty, to promote inclusive growth, because poverty is not about economics. Poverty is about social issues as well. Health, education, women empowerment, poverty, child care, all these things are very important aspects, and that is not pure economics. So if you study economic survey and budget, you should replace the word economics and you should start to think that it's not economic survey, it's India's survey, where you have so many other things too. Don't be biased towards the subject and feel bas yahi hai, this is the important subject. So for example, this part cannot be ignored. It's geography. You should write it. Map work done. Now please come back. Isliye I told you that if you focus on this lecture for some time, half an hour to 1 hour and 1.5 hours, you will start to see something different in the survey and the budget. It's not a normal survey and budget. So let's come back. Abhi wapas aate hain. And now let's get into hardcore budget. Quantum jump in the previous decade. Nahi, quantum jump to nahi bolenge. Thank you so much for your wishes, Kuldeep, and God bless you. 10 rupees and tissue paper. Right? So your friend is saying that he misses by 10 rupees, 100 rupees and tissue paper. Don't worry, I'll bring it out. So let's come back. Let's not break the flow, because this is far more important than anything else. For your career, this is very important. Isko karte hain pehle. Guys, focus on the board. To my online students also. Yes, if you have a lecture somewhere else and you want to watch the recorded video मिलेगा इनको? Will they get it? तो आप पूछ के बता दो, ठीक है? So I'll let you know. So no, we can't say that India took a quantum jump in the previous decade. We will say that we were very consistent in our increase in GDP. Bas. Let's not make those statements that India took a quantum jump, etc. ऐसा नहीं बोलेंगे. We'll say that India was consistent in improving its GDP. That's it. Come back here. अब देखो, this is what you have to. आपको करना है ये सब. You will have to do it for me, huh? So look at this budget. साथ में करते हैं. This is the budget. Budget has two sides: revenue and capital. Right. So revenue budget has two sides: revenue receipts, day-to-day income of the government of India through taxes and non-taxes. So this is your revenue receipt. Now see, the way to study these kind of documents like budget is, you should know some numbers. You should not know every number, but some numbers are expected from you. और एक चीज बताओ आपको, I have observed this in last 10 years, that the way UPSC is framing question, there has been a qualitative change. पहले पता क्या पूछते थे? They used to ask that, which of the following statement is correct about India? Revenue receipts have increased, revenue receipts have fallen. Up they are asking, the gap between revenue receipt and capital receipt is 5 lakh crore, 2 lakh crore, 1 lakh crore, which means some numbers are expected that you should know it. Why? I have no idea. Or maybe I have. Because UPSC feels that students have become more smart. आपको पता है Darwin's theory that every generation, successive generation is smarter than the previous generation. Biological fact. So UPSC also is trying to evolve, and UPSC says, देखो बेटा, whatever you study, numbers will always be important. So UPSC says qualitative knowledge is required, numbers also required. तो अभी हम दोनों पढ़ेंगे. We'll study both, but not overdose. So you should memorize this number. That okay, the revenue receipt is 31.29 lakh crore. तो कैसे याद करेंगे? We will memorize it by saying, roughly around 30 lakh crore. Done. That's it. 1 lakh crore up and down will always happen. So at least to memorize 30 lakh crore, ठीक है, 30 lakh crores, roughly 31.29 lakh crores. And how do you make notes out of it? The moment you write this number, you should create a bracket. And in that bracket, you should put an arrow. What does that arrow show? That compared to last year, what happened in the budget? So in 2023, whatever was the revenue receipt, in 2024, the government is expecting that it will rise. Good thing. This is how you should prepare. You don't need to write two numbers, but एक number लिखिए इस साल का. 2024, government is expecting this, which means this will be higher than previous year. Arrow, done, that's it. So this is revenue receipt. चलो यहाँ पे देखते हैं, this is capital receipt. What is capital receipt? So for example, I am the government of India, I sold Air India. I got cash, 18,000 crores. So that becomes a capital receipt. What kind of capital receipt? Non-debt creating. I don't have to return it to anybody. Similarly, for example, I get a loan. This is a debt. I'll have to return. So capital receipts are of two types: non-debt creating, debt creating. So the total capital receipts of India, देखो लिखा है, this is the capital receipts of India. उसमें what is the non-debt capital receipt? This much. And this is the capital receipts of India. It has fallen. साफ दिख रहा है, it's very less. Not a good thing. Now, I told you that capital receipts has two components: debt creating, non-debt creating. So non-debt creating is this outside the bracket, and total is this. Now, I want to ask you the first question. Can you please tell me what is the total receipts of India? Can you calculate and tell me what is the total? ये है ना total receipts. So, what is the formula, guys? To my online students, please write the formula. लिखिए. Then I will tell you. What is the formula of total receipts? RR plus here. To my online students, you're not answering. Please write RR plus. I told you this will not be like a monologue. It's like a conventional proper lecture. I believe in this old school. So RR plus capital receipts. Okay. So can you please tell me what is the value? Take out your calculator and tell me. बताओ. Don't start checking your messages. 48.2 lakh crores. सही है. Good. Now you see this. This is your expenditure. Revenue expenditure मतलब day-to-day expenditure. Very dangerous expenditure. Day-to-day expenditure. Now this is the expenditure which government regularly incurs. So what is the total? What is this revenue expenditure? 37.09 lakh crores increased. So compared to last year, this year, our day-to-day expenditure is going to increase. That's what the government says. And what is our capital expenditure? 11 by to sabko pata hai. This number is beautiful. 11.11 lakh crores. Right. So 11.111111 lakh crores. So can you please tell me what is the total expenditure? Smart kids. 48 point? Yeah, absolutely. She's smart. She says, pata to hai, sir. Whatever is the revenue will be the expenditure. Balance budget. So, pehle formula, let's write the formula. I don't know the formula, please help. What will I write here? Total expenditure? Revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure, which is 48.0. Arey wow, that's magical. How does that happen? Revenue is equal to whatever is your revenue is your expenditure. How did that happen? Kuch to gadbad hai, boss. But you know one thing, that India's revenue is here and India's expenditure is here. How is it possible that your revenue and expenditure, this is revenue, this is always the case, and our expenditure is always here. How is it possible that we pulled it up? Kuch to gadbad hai, there is something wrong. What is wrong? How did that happen? How can they be equal? Ye kaise equal ho gaya? So this is your income, this is your expenditure. Overall income, overall expenditure. How is it that government is showing everything equal? There is a gap. If you borrow money from somewhere, so then your revenue shows like this, which is बहुत borrowing करी आपने. You have borrowed a lot, and since you borrowed a lot, you are going to pay a lot of interest rates. That's your interest payment, which means government of India has made a calculation that this year we are going to make this much of interest payment. When do you make interest payment? When you borrow. So this is our revenue, this is our expenditure. Ideally, this should be the case. But what have we done? Borrowed, hence it increased. And how do you know we have borrowed? If we have not borrowed, why are we making provision for interest payment? Kiske liye? I have a figure for you. That in this total, this revenue expenditure, this is total 37.09. But I have taken some components to show you what government is doing. So what are some of the components? Very dangerous component, interest payment 11.6 lakh crore. Right, so this is 11.6 lakh crores, very dangerous. Now government of India should have controlled this. This simply means that in the past you have taken a lot of loan, and that is why you are going to make payments. And it also shows that you are in the habit of taking loans, and you will take loans this year also. It shows me a trend. Number two, subsidies 15 to 16 lakh crore, but there is an arrow which says subsidies are down. So government of India is saying that I will reduce some subsidies. Immediately it strikes me, which subsidy is the government talking? Which subsidies? Which subsidy is one of the bulkiest subsidy of India? Food as well as fertilizer. Ab dekho, food subsidy we cannot reduce. So what is the government trying to do? Government is trying to control one subsidy of India called fertilizer subsidy. And government is saying, I won't give that much fertilizer subsidy which I was giving. So last year, for example, urea subsidy was roughly around 1.3 lakh crores. And the non-urea subsidy was roughly around 64,000 crores. So roughly around 1.8, 1.9 lakh crore was the total fertilizer subsidy. Government is saying, no, this year we are not going to give that. We will reduce it, the fertilizer subsidy. How do you reduce fertilizer subsidy? By motivating the farmers, please don't overuse soil health cards. So government of India is saying, I will promote organic farming, I will promote natural farming, I will motivate the farmers, please boss, don't overuse fertilizers, it destroys your soil capacity. And next point that the government of India has done is beautiful thing. Government has said, hey, state governments, can you help? The state government said, why? So central government said that if you can convince your farmers, agriculture is a state subject. So center has told the states that if you can convince your farmers to reduce the fertilizer consumption, and if your state government is able to reduce the fertilizer consumption, so then central government, based on the amount of reduction in fertilizer subsidy, so if suppose Maharashtra uses less fertilizer, so whatever is the reduction in the fertilizer consumption, center says, uska 50%, I'm going to give you as grant, gift. So last year, Maharashtra used fertilizer subsidy worth 5 crores. This year, Maharashtra will use fertilizer subsidy worth 2 crores. So 3 crore reduction. Central government says, us 3 crore ka 50%, which is 1.5 crore, I'll give you as gift. Gift, cash gift to the state. Enjoy your life. And use this money to promote agriculture. Some people became very happy. So then rather than civil servant, I should become a chief minister. ऐसे सोच रहे होगे आप. कोई बात नहीं. UPSC opens that door also for you. Right. So what is the center doing? Center is trying multiple options to convince the states do not use fertilizer subsidy a lot. Isi tampe, the center is saying on the basis of that okay, Pranam scheme, absolutely, Pranam scheme 2023. So this is the reduction of subsidy. So you should understand these things. That see, interest payment 11.6 lakh crore, it is rising, very dangerous. And number two, subsidies are coming down mostly because government is trying to control fertilizer subsidy. एक सवाल आपसे. I want to ask you one thing. Now, imagine that I'm a farmer. I want urea packets. I will just take my Aadhaar card. I will go to my nearest urea center where there is a distributor. There will be a POS machine, point of sale machine. I will make digital payment. They will ask me, who are you? I'll say, this is my Aadhaar card. In Aadhaar card, it is not written what is your profession, whether you are a farmer or you are Amitabh Bachchan or whether you are Shah Rukh Khan. These things are not written. Aadhaar card simply says, this is your name, this is your date of birth, this is your address. Profession is not written there. So I will show my Aadhaar card and the person will ask me, how many packets of urea you require? I'll say, like 5 trucks. They'll say, 5 trucks? What will you do with that? I'll say, don't ask me a question. Because Government of India, in an open-ended manner, gives fertilizer packets in a subsidized rate. Government doesn't even ask whether you are farmer or non-farmer. They will simply give you whatever fertilizer you require. So, bichara POS machine hai, theek hai, le lo. Take whatever fertilizer you want. I'll take 5 trucks of fertilizers. I will go to some industry, I'll sell it. I'm not a farmer. First of all, I'm not a farmer. Ye sab mera kaam nahi hai. I'm somebody else. I'm an agent. I'm doing all these things. What will the industry do? They will extract nitrogen out of it and they will use it in chemical industry. And why do they buy the fertilizer to extract nitrogen? Because fertilizers are subsidized. So their input cost comes down. Government of India got to know this. That what is happening in our country? So Government of India immediately said, no, let's digitize agriculture. How do you digitize agriculture? Make a registry of farmers. Not Enam. Make a registry of farmers called as AgriStack. AgriStack. Where you go to farmers, you do a survey and ask them, what's your name? What is the land that you have got? And through GPS tagging, you understand which land belongs to which farmer. So you create a registry of farmers, you create a registry of villages, and you create a registry of land. You connect them digitally through satellites. And then you put it in the mobile app. And then you tell the central and state government that center and state, whatever schemes you are running for agriculture, whosoever is the beneficiary of that scheme related to agriculture, uska naam bataiye. And then match it. And then you will be able to find out who is a frivolous person and who is a real farmer. This is called DPI, Digital Public Infrastructure in Agriculture. Is there a scheme by Government of India which is promoting this? Hai na? Digital Agricultural Mission 2021. Under this, we are doing exactly this. We are trying to create AgriStacks. So, you see, we just looked at the word revenue expenditure and we looked at the word subsidy and we have a whole story in front of us. This is the level at which you have to prepare for UPSC. The moment you see the word subsidy, immediately you should close your eyes and say National Food Security Act, roughly 82 crore people are buying food grains. That we cannot stop because people are vulnerable. So food subsidy, you cannot simply reduce, you can improve the targeting. Fertilizer subsidy, frivolous people are taking advantage. So you should try to make sure that you target it well. And who will help you in targeting? Digital technology, artificial intelligence. So a question was asked to Dr. Geeta Gopinath recently in the interview that where do you think India should use artificial intelligence? She said, targeting of the government schemes. Because this is a good use of digital technology, especially the artificial intelligence. Is tarah se you have to argue things. Yes, absolutely correct. So, yahan pe mil gaya hame. We got this information. So now this is your expenditure and this is capital expenditure. If you add this, you get total expenditure. Ab dekho yahan pe, see, something interesting I have mentioned. This data you have to memorize for UPSC. What is the data? Out of the total expenditure. What is total expenditure? This plus this. Bacho, please follow all the steps. Out of the total expenditure, what percentage is being spent on subsidies in India? 6%. You know, subsidy 6%. This is 6% of total expenditure. Out of the total expenditure, what percentage is being spent on interest payment? 19%. You have to memorize these two figures. So your subsidy and interest, 19 plus 6, 25%. So if Government of India is spending 100 rupees in the market, its expenditure is 100. Both regular expenditure plus capital expenditure, milake 100 rupees. 1/4 is going either in subsidies or interest payment. That's your information. And what is the government trying to do? Government is trying to control. Government is saying, bhai, interest we have to control, but ho nahi raha. That means we are borrowing a lot, and government is trying to control the subsidy through digital technology. Is it okay? If you frame budget for this year, you are a smart kid. If you frame budget for this year, in your priority areas, will you put digitization of agriculture as one of the priorities? Karoge aap? I'll show you that government has done that. It's a natural thing that government has to. Kyun karenge? Because unless you digitize, how will you reduce this subsidy, unnecessary wala subsidy? Matlab those fake people who are saying I am farmer, but they are not the farmers. How will you reduce that? How will you reduce overuse of urea? Easily digital technology. Okay. Now please tell me what is revenue deficit. Calculate and please tell me. How do you find revenue deficit? Guys, online students, please tell me. How do you find revenue deficit? Revenue expenditure, very good. And minus revenue? Simple. What is revenue deficit? Revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Bacho, you have to be very smart in this and you have to be very fast in this. So revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. So whatever it comes up, likh lo. My CSAT is not good. Your CSAT must be good. Aap likh lo isko. Right? Now I'll show you the numbers also. What is effective revenue deficit? Funda please, formula please. Very good. Absolutely. Very nice. Well done. So what is effective revenue deficit? Revenue deficit minus the grant given by the center to state governments for the creation of capital assets. So ऐसे लिख दोगे, center to state for capital asset, capex. ऐसे लिख दो. Right. And what is that amount? See, 3.9 lakh crores. 3.9 lakh crores. So if you put this number, revenue deficit here, minus 3.9 lakh crores, you will get your effective revenue deficit. Do it through your calculators. I deliberately, I'm asking you to do this because if you do it once, no, you will understand. This is called capacity building. You will immediately understand, Achha, this is how I have to study the budget, which means that you will never need anybody for budget in future. Aapko koi nahi chahiye hoga. You don't require anybody. You just need these numbers. That's it. So next point. What do you do next point? Fiscal deficit. Please tell me what is fiscal deficit. Everybody knows it's borrowing. Formula, please. Formula. Formula of fiscal deficit. Formula. Total expenditure minus ठीक है. That's a fiscal deficit, which means it shows borrowing. What is fiscal deficit? Total expenditure minus revenue receipt. Why? Because revenue receipt is yours. Tax revenue, non-tax revenue. You don't have to return it. Non-debt creating receipts is yours. The disinvestment wala money, that's yours. So this money is yours. This money, 15.3 lakh crore, is yours. You add these two, and then you look at total expenditure. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the total expenditure by Government of India, suppose this year is 100 rupees. I spent 100 rupees. So this is here. And how much money did I have in my pocket, which was mine? Revenue receipt, that's mine. That's revenue receipt. Plus I sold some companies. That money is mine. Thoda bada dijiye. But still I have overspent. How did I overspend? Borrowings part. This borrowed part is called fiscal deficit. So fiscal deficit you can easily calculate. And how do you calculate primary deficit? Fiscal deficit minus interest payment on previous loans. So this interest payment which the government is saying I will make it this year, this is the interest rate on previous loans. So government, because how can we calculate what is the interest payment on today's loan? वो तो आगे पता चलेगा, we'll come to know. So this is the interest payment which the government is going to make this year for previous loans. You subtract it from fiscal deficit, you will get primary deficit. So I've got some numbers for you. These are your numbers. So do you need to memorize them? बिल्कुल भी नहीं. You don't need to memorize. This I was just doing so that you know how to calculate, how to apply the formulas in real life. That okay, these are the numbers, we can play around with those numbers. So bacho, what capacity building happened in case of budget today? The one thing, forget about numbers, ho sakta hai calculation is here and there, but what should you take from this type of discussion? 2-3 things. First, the moment you get a budget, immediately for UPSC perspective, you should look at the first figure called as revenue receipt. Immediately you should look at second thing called as revenue expenditure, and then you should hunt for 2-3 numbers. Deeply you should go and try to find out, government, please tell me what is your interest payment. And then you should ask the government, theek hai, interest payment is fine. Now please tell me what is subsidy. Then you tell the government, tell me how much money you are giving to the state government for creation of capex. Ye 3 numbers you should definitely know. UPSC is deeply interested in this. The moment you know these 3 numbers, you should memorize this. That okay, this is the trend. Even if you don't remember the number, memorize the trend and memorize the percentage. Here I have mentioned the percentage. Now look at this. This you should memorize. Yaad hona chahiye aapko. You should memorize this. And then you should look at the capital receipts and try to see how much is the non-debt receipt, because this non-debt receipt is your money which you don't have to return. So that's your non-debt receipt. And then you should know this formula. After this formula, I'll dictate you 2-3 things. After this formula, you should immediately open 1 or 2 things by the Government of India. Pehla, this. You should open this. This is given everywhere. It is given in budget, it is given in PIB, everywhere you will find this. But what did we do in today's lecture? We calculated. Sab cheez we calculated. And then we look at the trend. What are the things that you need to memorize from here? From here, you need to memorize these numbers. And trust me, it is important. So if you're writing your UPSC prelims, if you're writing your UPSC mains, and if you're trying to write your state services exam or RBI exam, for all these exams, these numbers are important. For this year, you have to memorize. There is no other way. Now, there is one more thing that you should take away from here. Dhyan se dekhiye. What is the trend of fiscal deficit? Bataiye bacho, the long-term trend of fiscal deficit, rising or falling? Brilliant. So long-term trend is this. What is the long-term trend of revenue deficit? Falling. Long-term trend of primary deficit? Falling. Long-term trend of effective revenue deficit? Falling. So this is also correct. Now, let's come here. Ab dekho, what do you need to memorize? Something else. I'll give you one line. Like in just 2 minutes, I'll give you those dictations. But isko pehle samjho. This part is very important. Ab dhyan se dekho, I'm asking you a question. Aap mujhe batana what is the correct answer. So guys, there is a friend of yours. Suppose I'm that friend. We share a bro code, which means that whenever you will ask me a question, I'll answer. So you ask me a question that, bro, where did you spend your money yesterday? I'll say, I had 100 rupees, I spent it. You'll say, but where? Since we share a bro code, I'll tell you the answer. So I'll tell you that out of 100 rupees, 70 rupees I spent on chocolates, and 30 rupees I spent on buying a pen. What is my quality of expenditure? Good or bad? Bad or very bad? Very well. Heartless. He says very bad. Of course you are right. My quality of expenditure is pathetic. Why do I need to spend 70 rupees out of my pocket in something which is purely consumption, which is not going to add anything except it will make me diabetic in future? Uske alawa nothing will happen. I'll get sudden kicks when you eat a lot of chocolates. You get sudden kicks and energy for 5 seconds, but the energy goes down also at the same pace. So some people will tell you eat a lot of chocolates. Ha, theek hai. For how many minutes and hours? It will give you kicks for 5 hours, 10 hours. If you keep eating chocolate, uske baad it will dip down so fast. It's very dangerous. That's what happens when you eat a lot of chocolate, when you drink a lot of cold drinks, and whenever you eat sugary things, that's what they do to your body. They immediately make your energy very high. Metabolism will be very fast. Energy will be released. Uske baad se you go down. So very dangerous. So immediately when I asked you, I asked you a question what is my quality of expenditure? And you gave me an answer, quality is very bad. How do I improve my quality? Where do I need to spend my money? In things which gives me some returns in future. Hai na? Some asset creation. Pen is an asset because it helps me to write notes, it helps me to write books, it helps me to generate knowledge. So Government of India is also spending money. How do you find out if the quality of expenditure of Government of India is good or bad? So you find out the quality of expenditure if the capex by center overall keeps rising, and number 2, if the effective capex of India also keeps on rising. What are these 2 things? What is the capex? The meaning of capital expenditure of India is this. So guys, this is the capital expenditure which the center is doing, but this is also the money which center is giving to states for capital expenditure. So this part is called capex, But if you add this grant given to state government to it, yahan pe you add the grant, then it becomes effective capex. For a healthy country and economy, both should rise. This should also rise, and this should also rise, because we are following a federal polity. Chalo dekhte hain. And whether we have to understand these things or not, ye samajh mein aa jayega. We can clearly see this, guys. So last year, this was the capex by center. This year, this is the planned capex by the center. So what is the percentage increase in the capex of the center? Roughly 17%. This last year, this was the money which center gave to states for as grants for capital expenditure. This is the money which the center is going to give to states this year for capital expenditure. So this is also increasing by 21%. So 17% and 21%. Take the average, weighted average. You will get roughly 12.7 total, and this total is 15. So jump is 18%. Which means center's capex is rising. Yeah, cooperative federalism. Center's capex is rising. Grants to the states is rising. So overall it is rising. UPSC can make these three statements. And UPSC will tell you, ab dhyan suno which statement will come. I'll dictate you these statements. Pehle let me speak. The first statement is, the capex by center since last few years is rising. Hai na? Since last few years it's rising. You can clearly see. The grants given to the state government since last few years is rising. Yeah, I can see that it's happening. Third statement will be, the effective capex of India is rising recently. Yeah. The fourth statement will be, the quality of expenditure in India is improving. Yeah. Because if your capital expenditure is rising, your quality is improving. Four statements. These are the type of questions asked in prelims. Or mains where they will ask you, write a short note on India's capital expenditure or quality of expenditure. One such question has been asked in the past, I think 5 years back. Yeah, expenditure management of India. So there you need to draw this graph and you need to write these figures. It is asked in both prelims and mains. Likhe isko. Please write some points. Expenditure by India. Expenditure by India. Just write 4 points, okay? Capex by center. Capex by center. Capex by center is rising. Is rising. In the bracket, please write rupees 11.11 lakh crores. Rupees 11.11 lakh crores. Number 2, the grant from center to state. Number 2, the grant from center to state for capital expenditure. For capital expenditure is rising. Is rising. In the bracket, 3.9 lakh crores. 3.9 lakh crores. Third, the effective capex. देखिए बच्चों, this is effective capex, okay? So effective capex is capex plus grants. So please write, the effective capex is also rising. Is also rising. In the bracket, please write 15 lakh crores. 15 lakh crores. Next statement. So, bachcho, these three were quantitative statements. The next one is a qualitative statement. So, please write, the quality of expenditure, the quality of expenditure in India, the quality of expenditure in India is slowly improving. Is slowly improving. Fine. Slowly improving because our revenue expenditure is also rising. Right. So capital expenditure is slowly improving. Please put a full stop. Now, should you go deeper than what we have gone? No. There is only one extra thing which we need to do. That part which is called as non-debt capital receipt. Means, for example, disinvestment receipts. So government of India sells companies and gets money. That money government does not have to return to anybody. That money is called as non-debt creating capital receipt. What about that? And let me tell you something, the budget was very silent on the budget. Kuch bola hi nahi is pe. The finance minister did not say anything. The summary of the budget did not say anything. So you had to go deeper into some other documents of the budget. This is the deeper documents of the budget. When you go deeper into the numbers, then you're like, acha, this happened. So that result I'm going to show you, and I'll make you write this. What about that part? हाँ देखो मैं दिखाता हूँ आपको ये वाला part है ना, ये non debt capital receipts, इसके ऊपर I'm going to show you what actually happened. So let me see this part. See, this number I updated yesterday because when the government of India declared the budget at that time, when you look at this number was roughly around 12.5. But yesterday when I updated, because there are many sources of data through government agencies only, where they update the figures every week. So this is the updated figure, most updated. That is one of the reasons that I thought I'll give you the handout through email, because I made some changes, last hour changes, very late last night when I was going into various documents, because these are numbers. I can't lie about numbers, and that will be almost a sin to do it. So I updated all the numbers, and this is your updated figure, not given in the budget. क्या है ये? Disinvestment. Look at the story of disinvestment. So what is disinvestment? Disinvestment would mean that there is a government company which is owned and managed by Government of India. From that, a part of the company is sold to private sector. Not the entire company, but the part of the company is sold. Now, in some cases, the entire company is also sold. That's privatization. So whenever Government of India sells ownership, Government of India receives cash, whether they sell a part or whether they sell an entire company to the private sector, like Air India entirely sold. Government gets some cash in the pocket. That cash is called as the disinvestment receipts. So in 23-24, the target of Government of India was to receive this much cash by selling the companies, 51,000 crore. This was our target. But what did Government of India do? Government of India, after selling the companies, received this much only. We fell short of target. Our target was this. This is the real numbers, which means disinvestment could not happen the way we wanted. Kyun? Who are the people who will buy the government companies? Private companies. In private companies, there could be private company or there could be foreign investment as well. So what would have happened last year? That government was not able to sell the companies. Either the government got confused whether to sell, whether not to sell, or the government would have tried to sell, but the people did not pay too much money to the government by saying your companies are not good. That could have happened. Or third, government kept on waiting that somebody will text me that I'm going to buy your company. That text never came. ऐसे होता है ना, we keep on waiting for the text. The number gets blocked. So ऐसे ही Government of India was waiting for the text that somebody will text me, hey, I'm coming to buy your company. But those people blocked the number of India and said, we are going to other countries because India, your economy is not that great. And how do we know economy is not that great? High frequency indicators. And the proof is your GDP is down, right? So maybe the capital market was not very healthy. Where do you sell the shares? Capital market. And you know what happened in the capital market of India? Like Hindenburg happened. So everybody got confused by what is happening, right? Now we can't even go to regulator because there is a problem there also, right? So everywhere there is a problem. People are doubting that whom to trust, whom not to trust. So these are the times which are very turbulent. These are volatile times where the investor gets very conscious that shall I go or shall I wait? Let me get the entire picture what is happening in India, then I will go. So investors became very conscious. That is why this could not be realized. Isliye target, but achievement is very less. Now, UPSC will not ask you this question. What is target? What is achievement? Sab state exam will ask you this question. But what will UPSC ask you? मैं बताता हूँ आपको, very खतरनाक question. UPSC will ask you in last 5 years, what has been the trend in the disinvestment receipts of India? Have we been able to fulfill the targets of disinvestment in last 5 years? Answer is, if you include all the 5 years together as an average, no. In some of the years, yes. But on an average in last 5 years, dangerous. On an average, we have not been able to do it. 3 years back, we did. On an average in last 5 years, no. This is what UPSC will ask you. That last year we could not achieve, no problem. But on an average, are we able to achieve our disinvestment targets? No. And it clearly shows the capital market is not being trusted by the investors. Also, there is global volatility. So people are very conscious because Russia-Ukraine war is happening, Red Sea problem happened, supply chain issues happened. They became very conscious by, I don't know what is happening. And even if government is selling shares, government is getting very low prices because there is a sort of negative tendency in the market. ये लिखवाऊंगा आपको 2 लाइन इसके ऊपर. So that is one. Second, look at this 2024-25. Government got a reality check. So government said, this we can't do. So Government of India said, let me create something which is similar to this. So 30,000 crore, very modest target. So what do we learn from here? that we should rationalize our expectations. So, for example, yesterday I thought that I'll be able to study entire 500 pages of a book in 1 hour because I watched some videos by some motivational gurus. So I thought that practically these days everybody is a motivational guru, right? Right. And I also watched some memes that you can achieve anything in life. So whatsoever I was watching, I got motivated. I took the book 500 pages. I studied only 10. And then I realized that, oh, there is a problem. Then I realized the subject is very technical, right? So what did I do then? Then today I also sat to study and I realized that no, I need to rationalize my expectations. Stop watching the memes. Stop watching those motivational videos. Right? You better watch it in washrooms, not outside that. Right? So I thought that I'll not watch it. I'll rather read. So I assessed my capacity and I thought every day I'll read 2 pages more than what I think I can. This will improve my capacity and I will not be under pressure. Rationalization of expectation is important. And we should also try to increase our capacity slowly. Otherwise, there will be a crash. I can lift 200 kgs. All of a sudden, I watch some motivational videos, look at some memes, and I start to lift 500 kg. My back will rupture. My backbone will be badly damaged. I will never be able to recover from it. Be careful. So, Government of India. So, what did Government of India do? 30,000 crore. Bas itna karna hai aapko. Ab likh lo. Please write disinvestment scenario in India. Disinvestment scenario in India. Disinvestment scenario in India. बच्चों एक क्वेश्चन पूछ लो आपसे. Can I ask you a question? I feel like. So, what is extreme form of disinvestment called as? In disinvestment, normally, listen to it carefully. In disinvestment, normally, you sell a part of the company. But sometimes you become too excited and you feel like, no, I'll sell everything. I'll sell entire company. That is also disinvestment. So extreme form of disinvestment is called as privatization. So yes, whenever you sell a small part of the company, it can be called as normal disinvestment, minor disinvestment, major disinvestment. But when you sell the entire company, there are 2 terms for it. Either you call it as privatization or you can also call it as extreme form of disinvestment. Both the terms are used. So now please write disinvestment scenario in India. Point number 1. The 2023 target was 50,000 crores. Was 50,000 crores. Yes, HS, correct. 2023, the target was 51,000 crores. Sorry, I started reading, so I'll answer it a little later. Otherwise, dictation will go here and there. So in 2023, the target was 51,000 crores, whereas the achievement, mind you, this is the updated achievement, okay? The achievement is 16,507 crores. 16,507 crores. Up 16,000 ही याद रख लो. 16,507 crores. Number 2, second bullet. The target for current year. The target for current year is 30,000 crores. Is 30,000 crores. Right? Third point. On an average, third point, on an average, India has been unable to achieve its disinvestment targets, in the recent years. Done. So this was the background. And in the background, do you know what we just did? In the background, we have studied some of the important highlights of the budget as well as economic survey combined. एक साथ ही देख लिया. And some of the things that came in the newspaper in last 1 year, like steel, coal, etc. Because the scheme which I taught, or the scheme related to coal, etc., all these things is not explicitly given in any document of the government. It came in the newspaper, so we borrowed some points from the newspaper as well. So we have to study it like this. Ab chalo, let us jump into interim budget. Now we don't have to study entire interim budget because I've already made a video on that. That video is already there. That's a webinar. And if you go to the Vajiram YouTube channel, you'll see that video. But from there, the government of India borrowed a few things, and government of India said that I am going to carry forward what I told in the interim budget. I'm going to carry it forward to this year's full budget as well as next year. I'm going to carry it. वो चीजें, those things we have to bring out from the interim budget and we have to make notes out of it for both prelims and mains. उसको करते हैं. Now, what is there in the interim budget? ये देखिए. So you'll really enjoy this because this is really interesting. I found it to be the highlight of the interim budget. So you see, there are these 4 focus area. अभी कुछ लिखना नहीं, हाँ, because we don't need to write. I'll dictate. So there are 4 focus area of the budget. What are the 4 focus area of this interim budget? The first is Gyan. The word is Gyan. G for Garib Kalyan. Garib Kalyan means poverty alleviation. We are trying to remove poverty. Number 2 is youth. Youth empowerment. How do you empower the youth? You empower the youth by skill, education, health, and jobs. ये तो करेंगे. Now, next one is welfare of the farmers. Annadata. Annadata is farmers, which means that agricultural reforms are important. And next, you have Nari Shakti. Nari Shakti means women empowerment. This was the focus area. And then you see here something was mentioned. Vision. Vision means long-term plan. So what is the long-term plan which the government told in the interim budget? That government wants that during Amrit Kal will end in 2047 when we achieve 100 years of independence. So government said that abhi Amrit Kal is going on, last 25 years of independence. It will, before it becomes 100. ऐसे नहीं बोलना last 25 years. When I was speaking, I realized, what did I say? Right. Very dangerous statements. So one should control the words. Don't put full stop and commas at wrong places. Now, this vision means long-term direction in which we want to go. What is the long-term idea of the government? That India wants to become a developed country by 2047. How do you become a developed country? 2 methods. बहुत ध्यान सुनना बच्चों. If you want to become a developed country, first your overall GDP should be very high. Your overall GDP should be above a certain cutoff declared by World Bank. World Bank declares the cutoff that if, and you should know this, that World Bank declares the cutoff that if your GDP is above this, then World Bank will say that you are eligible to be called as a developed country. There is one more indicator, and you have to fulfill both. Per capita GDP. So World Bank says that I will take your GDP and divide it by population. Your per capita GDP should also be high. Per capita GDP shows, on an average, each individual in the society is getting how much money. So your overall GDP should be high, your per capita GDP should also be high, according to World Bank. Acha, in World Bank, which agency gives these numbers? Koi to agency hogi? There must be an agency, because UPSC is interested in these kind of things. IBRD. IBRD will give you this kind of. World Bank Group, right? World Bank Group is there. In World Bank Group, you have too many sister concerns. So one of the sister concerns, one of the components or branches of World Bank Group is IBRD and IDA. So IBRD and IDA, basically, these two are the ones who give you these numbers. IBRD and IDA, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and International Development Association, IBRD and IDA. It should be there in your mind, that who gives the cutoff for developed country and developing country, etc., etc. Now, so India wants to become a developed country during Amrit Kal. Yeah, to theek hai, this is fine. But now the new budget has come. And UPSC will not ask you this question that, please write the focus area, please write what is that. No, you should not write. The UPSC will never ask you these things. Gyan batao kya hai? Because in one line you can answer this. You know what UPSC will ask you? UPSC will tell you, please discuss the focus areas of the government policies, especially this year. So since this year we are asking this question, you have to write the interim budget ka focus area as well as the union budget, full budget ka focus area. Both focus areas have to be written now because 2 budgets came. So now UPSC will ask you a question that 2-3 questions are possible. One, discuss the focus area of the budget. So this focus plus the current budget, 23rd July wala focus. Second question would be, discuss the government steps taken to achieve the focus areas. Deadly question. Focus area to koi bata dega, Gyan. But then UPSC will ask you, how does government of India make efforts to achieve Gyan? Ye bataiye. So then you will say, okay, you have to write the schemes related to poverty alleviation, schemes related to empowerment of youth, schemes related to farmers, and schemes related to women empowerment. Pura you have to give the entire history, geography of these schemes. But you cannot write every scheme because there is a limitation, 10 marks and 15 marks. And you don't have to become the mouthpiece of the government. So what do you need to do? You have to pick up the right things. That, okay, government has done these 4 right things, I'll write these 4. And if something is missing, I'll write it as a criticism. This is the balanced answer. You don't have to become mouthpiece of anyone. And please refrain from one habit if you are preparing from UPSC. So when you prepare for these kind of government exams and big exams, one should never look at these documents with suspicion. One should never praise them. One should never criticize them. What should you do? Seedha, aise aaram se, relax, open the document, read it, try to see what are the schemes government launched and try to see the outcome. Then make your own inferences that, okay, based on what I have read, I'm going to write this. And trust me, if you trust your IQ and your heart, your answer will be perfect. But if you only take points from somebody else who is telling you the points, they might be biased. People have agendas. We as UPSC aspirants have to get above the agendas. So hum har cheez ko na will look at everything positively, but we will not be biased. But because pehle, if you become negative and say, nah, government has not achieved anything, then already you are biased. So look at it from a neutral perspective, in a positive sense, that in a very excited manner, let me see what it is there. And then you see, acha, achievement done, but problems also there. So chalo karte hain poverty. What has the government of India done to remove poverty and what is the result? So pehle likh lo, please write focus areas of interim budget. मैं आपको बताता हूं how to prepare for UPSC. लिखे focus areas of interim budget. Focus areas of interim budget. So hello to you if you have joined little late. So keep watching the session, guys, and sit with a pen and paper to my online students. It will really help you. So focus areas of interim budget. You are smart bachcho. You already told me the first focus area. बताइए क्या लिखोगे? Poverty alleviation. Poverty alleviation. Poverty alleviation. Sandeep, the answer to that would be, let's say 30 to 40% would be different. Poverty alleviation, because these things I didn't teach in my last economic module, because these things were not there. How do I teach that? But this time it's, so I have already created the books for the module this time and all the lectures are ready. So in that I can see that almost 30% is different. 30%. वापस आइए, but today's agenda is different. Today I have to teach you this, so I'll focus on this one. So first is poverty alleviation. अब कैसे लिखोगे? ध्यान से सुनना बच्चों. There is a trick. The trick is बहुत ध्यान से, very important. So whenever you write something that government agenda is poverty alleviation, first you should write some data that has poverty come down or not. And how do you see that? ये देखिए, in 2013-14, अभी don't write, I'll dictate. In 2013-14, what percentage of India's population was below poverty line? So the percentage of population below poverty line was 29.17%. Now, if you look at today, 2022-23, this is the latest figure we have got. What percentage of Indian population is below poverty line? 11.28%. So earlier, the below poverty line population of India was roughly around 29.17%. Currently, it is 11.28%. So if you convert percentage into numbers, because in 2013-14, our population was roughly around 130 crores. Abhi our population is 143 crores by God's grace. So 130 became 143. So your percentage calculation will also be different. This is 29.17 multiplied by 130. And this is your 11.28 multiplied by 143. As we speak, it will become 144 also. Right? We are a hard-working country. So government of India is saying, if you calculate these numbers, roughly India has been able to take out 25 crore people from below poverty line, and we have been able to shift them to above poverty. So 25 crore people in last 10 years have been pulled out of below poverty line. This is one of the achievements that you can mention. Problems se likhenge, but first we will mention this. And then the question that UPSC can ask you is, which of the states in India showed the biggest reduction in poverty? So those states of India which suffered from maximum poverty, they will show the best progress. So UP, Bihar, MP, Rajasthan, Odisha, in this sequence. These are the numbers which I got from various sources, specifically Niti Aayog. So it is 29.17, 11.28. So abhi aap isi ko follow karoge, you will follow this only. Okay? Because this is the most updated number which I have got, you will use this only. And there can always be some difference in the decimals because this is given by Niti Aayog. Some agency will remove this 17 and say it is 18. Abhi kya kar le uska? But mostly it is this only. And 25 crore is fixed. This is our achievement. Now, how did government achieve that? And what is the government trying to do for these people? 11.28%. In case the government must be doing something. That, okay, we want to reduce even this below. Kaise karoge? How will you do that? How will you reduce this? Uske liye government of India has launched some schemes. and we have to do those schemes. Abhi karenge, we have to write the scheme. Chaliye fatafat, please tell me. Can you please tell me which are some of the schemes launched by government to reduce poverty? PM Swanidhi scheme. What is PM Swanidhi scheme? It is for street vendor. Suppose I'm a street vendor. After I conduct your session, I go outside the Vajiram, I start to sell samosas and your favorite momos. Right? So I start to sell samosas, newspaper, momos, and pens outside Vajiram. Kuch log khush hoke imagine kar rahe, like imagining, huh? Don't over imagine. So imagine samosas now. So imagine that I am selling samosas outside Vajiram. You are the government of India IAS officer. You told me that, hello, Mr. Street Vendor outside Vajiram, Swanidhi scheme. I am going to cover you under Swanidhi. I am the IAS officer of this area. So I'll say, give me money. What is the first thing you will ask me? Not money like this. First, you give some identity. I'll say, which identity? You will say, identity that you are a real street vendor. I'll say, acha, aisa bhi hota hai. Real and unreal. So who gives me the identity card that I'm a street vendor? The municipality. So municipality will give me that, because I belong to urban area. Street vendors mostly urban phenomenon. So I will get an identity card from the municipality. And the moment I get that card, I become eligible. So I will go to the portal of Swanidhi and I will upload my card. The moment I upload my card, the government of India will offer me 10,000 rupees, first of all. And government will say, beta, take 10,000 rupees. This is a working capital, so that you can buy your stuff which you want to sell as a working capital, day-to-day expenditure. Now, if I return the money in timely basis, mind you, this is not a gift. This is a loan, 10,000 rupees, which I have to return. So I have to return this money in the form of EMIs. So suppose that I return the money on time. The moment I return the money on time, immediately government of India will say, oh, you are returning the money on time. So we are going to give you concession on the interest rate also. So interest subvention is also given. So for example, if the normal interest rate is 10%, and if I return the money on time, 7% rebate is given. It is called interest subvention. So 10% interest rate becomes 3% for me, because 7% concession, okay? That is called interest subvention. So 10,000 rupees I returned. After that, I can again go back to the government of India and say, abhi aur paise do. So government will say, okay, you return the last money. I'll say, yeah. So government will give me 20,000 rupees more. Again, if I make the timely payment, then what will they do? They will reduce my interest rate. 20,000 return. In future, if I need 50,000, I can again go back and take 50,000, because I have returned my previous money. So every time I return my previous loan, the money that I can take as loan now starts to increase. So now first 10,000, 20,000, then 50,000. In which area? Urban area. For whom? Street vendors. So this is your Swanidhi scheme. And these schemes must be there in your handout. पता है आपको कैसे नोट्स बनाते हैं schemes का, so that you never forget them? मैं आपको बताता हूँ. When you write less literature and when you only write the keywords, it gets embedded in your mind forever. So for example, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Right. So you should know which ministry, because street vendors, urban phenomenon. Obviously, this ministry will do this job. How do you make notes for street vendors? PM Swanidhi. मैं दिखाता हूँ आपको. See, this is exactly how you should make the notes. देखो, poverty के लिए how did we make the notes? ऐसे. You simply write these numbers for poverty. Mains preparation done. Prelims preparation also done. And how do you write Swanidhi? This is how you make notes for government exams. You never write literature and stories. And please don't put memes also. जरूरत नहीं है. सही है ये. So urban street vendors. And who will give the license? Municipality. Because you study polity, you know it. दूसरा देखो, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees. Done. But you should be smart enough to know that directly they will not give you 50,000. Because they will first check whether you are able to return the money or not. So first they will give you 10, then 20, then 30. देखो, sequence में we have mentioned. And then we have mentioned IS, interest subvention. This is a bro code. Right? So interest subvention 7%. That's your discount you are getting. But when will you get the discount? When you make timely payment. Collateral free. So what will UPSC do? इसमें से UPSC will pick 3 points. And UPSC will make a question and say, only 1 correct, only 2 correct, all 3 correct, none of these. Last option, Vajiram. आप select कर लो which option, right? So इस तरह से you should. अभी समझ रहे हो आप कैसे notes बनाना है? This is exactly how you should make notes. The more you write in your notes, the difficult it becomes to revise. Rule of UPSC. If your notes becomes bulky and if something is so heavy that you cannot revise, that notes is absolutely useless. You should not have spent the time in making those notes. Anything which you cannot revise, you should not create. A simple rule है. This can be revised. चलो next scheme करते हैं. So there is another scheme which is Janman scheme. What is this scheme? Dekho, the government, absolutely correct. You already wrote it. So what is this scheme? Under this scheme, the government of India identified that there are some tribal groups of, bahut dhyan sunna bachcho, there are some tribal groups of India which are so backward that there is a problem related to their survival, their livelihood. They are very vulnerable. If we don't protect them, they'll be wiped out. So government of India says that we need to identify those tribal groups which are in the vulnerable category. But bhai, you have used the word vulnerable. So now you have to give eligibility condition also, that who is vulnerable. So government of India identifies vulnerable tribal groups using these 4 conditions. So now these 4 conditions automatically becomes a part of your UPSC preparation because you have used the word vulnerable. So now you have to identify. And how do you identify these groups? They are mostly following pre-agricultural technology, matlab ekdam stone age types. Number 2, low literacy level. Number 3, economic backwardness, means material resources are very less. And then you have reducing or stagnant population. Population is either stagnant or it is coming down over a period of time. Why will the population come down? Health conditions, nutrition, etc., etc. Disease, sickness, all these problems. So government of India says if a tribal group satisfies these conditions, all the 4, then you call it as vulnerable tribal group. And government of India says that this will be called as PVTG, particularly vulnerable tribal group. How many tribal groups in India are PVTG? 75. In how many states? 18 states. And how many union territories? 1 union territory. Any example of PVTG? Jarawa tribe in Andaman and Nicobar. Absolutely. Jarawa tribe, you can write as an example. Now, so what is the government of India doing? Ministry of Tribal, bahut dhyan se suniye bachcho, Ministry of Tribal Affairs said that since these are the problems, there cannot be one short solution to this. We cannot simply go to tribes and say, take money and enjoy your life. No, not possible. They're not asking money. They're asking good living conditions. How do you provide good living conditions? Water, electricity, health, education, jobs, skill development maybe, ease of living, transportation. These are the things that you have to provide. But you understand that each of these things which I mentioned is controlled by different ministry and department. One ministry doesn't control everything. Water, electricity, different ministry, not same. So Ministry of Tribal Affairs contacted 9 ministries and told them that you 9 ministries, you are responsible for roughly 11 basic facilities for these people. Somebody is giving water, somebody electricity, somebody transportation, etc., etc. So these 9 ministries will provide 11 basic facilities, housing included, to these people. That's your scheme called as Janman. Right. So this scheme also, आप देख रहे हो, एक चीज गौर कर रहे हो आप. Everywhere, what are we writing? We are writing the name of the ministry. We are also writing some of the components, and we are writing less literature. ठीक है? Now let's go to the next scheme. ये देखिए. PM Vishwakarma. So for example, imagine I'm a plumber, I'm a carpenter, but I realize that the field of carpentry is evolving. Like I'm a basic carpenter, huh? So for example, I can take a piece of wood, I can cut it, I can make some doors, windows, table, chair, etc. But if somebody calls me and says, can you do my interior design? I will say, no idea. How do you do interior designs? So then I realize, acha, interior design is being asked by people these days, but I have not updated my skill. Where will I go? There is no school in India called as National School of Carpentry. ऐसा तो कुछ है नहीं. So government of India said, by these people, the carpenters, the plumbers, and roughly 18 artisans, they will always remain small. They will always remain vulnerable, right? Music is good for mind. So what does the government of India do? Government of India decided, yes, government of India made a list of 18 artisans. Bachcho dekhe, how to make notes. Don't lose interest in this, guys. These are the typical things that is asked in UPSC. Be careful. So government made a list of 18 artisans. Ye dekho. So these are the artisans, 18 types of artisans, and government has opened common service center. Artisans need to approach this common service centers. The moment they reach here, see what will happen to them. The moment they reach here, I'm a carpenter, I reach here. So the moment I reach, there will be a small skill verification. They will test me and they will see what is the level of my knowledge and expertise. And if through that test they find out that, okay, I have decent level of knowledge, then they will tell me that, beta, you go for 5 to 7 days of training. So they will train me for 5 to 7. I don't require much training, 5 to 7 days. But if I need advanced training, and I have to become a super skilled person because I don't have updated, I have not updated my skill, then the government of India, in the same common service center, they will train me for 15 days advanced training. And whatever be the number of days in the training, since I am not able to pursue my profession in that time, I am losing my wages. So government of India will provide me 500 rupees per day. And when I come out of it, what will the government of India give? A toolkit of 15,000. So I will be given some instruments, some things where the value, monetary value will be roughly around 15,000 rupees. Okay? So this is what the government will do for me. So this scheme is called as Vishwakarma scheme. So again, these are the basic things that you should know. Acha, Vishwakarma scheme, when I come out of the training, what is the loan that will be given to me? 1 lakh rupees for 18 months. And then after that, I can take 2 lakh rupees for 30 months. Rate of interest charge will be 5%. It's fixed flat and it is collateral free. This is the information that you have to memorize. ये याद करना आपको. If you don't memorize this, there will be problem. ठीक है? So this is how you make notes. एक और दिखाता हूँ आपको. Look at this, please. फिर I'll tell you what mains question can be asked in GS paper 2. This is the new scheme. What is the name of the new scheme? PM Janjatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan 2024. Very good afternoon, guys. It is mentioned in the budget. Right. So no, it's 11 point. It's 16.1. Yeah, there must be a problem in the writing or decimals. You correct it, please. It's 16.1. नहीं वो wrong था. वो 16.1 ही है. Correct is 16. It's not 1.16. 16.1. वो decimal डालने में गलती हुई. So please come here. जनजातीय उन्नत ग्राम अभियान 2024. आप handout का wait कर लीजिए. उसमें I'll give it to you. So PM जनजातीय उन्नत ग्राम अभियान 2024. How many villages are being covered in this? What is this scheme? देखो ध्यान से सुनना बच्चों एक चीज. The government of India said that there are some tribes which are very vulnerable. कितने tribes? 75. But ऐसा थोड़ी that every tribe is equally vulnerable. What about the other tribes who are not very vulnerable? How will you help them? Don't they require help? उनको भी तो help चाहिए. So government of India is saying, okay, I'll do one thing. I will go to other tribes which are not covered in that special vulnerable or particularly vulnerable, other tribes of India. I will go to other villages and help them in similar things like housing, for example, healthcare, education, skill development, water, electricity, kaise, under this scheme. So government is going to cover 5 crore tribes in 63,000 villages. These are not particularly vulnerable tribes, but these are also vulnerable tribes. So this is a new scheme which has been on. Abhi isse kya ho gaya? So for example, suppose these are the total tribes of India. Inside this, these are the tribes which are particularly vulnerable. And these are the tribes which are not particularly vulnerable, but they are also tribes and they are vulnerable. So now entire set of tribes are being covered through 2 schemes. So UPSC can ask you this question in GS paper 2. In GS paper 2, UPSC can ask you this question, that please discuss government's effort to improve the condition of tribal areas in India, or for tribe development, or for tribal upliftment. ये पूछेंगे आपसे UPSC. How will you write this answer? देखो इसके लिए some figures that you need to take. So overview for UPSC GS paper 2, 2014 to 2024. ये सब चीज you will have to write. This is what you have to supplement in the budget. So in 2014 to 2024, if you look at the outlay, which means what is the budgetary provision related to tribal development. So in the year 2014, the government of India made a provision of 4,500 crores. इसमें तो कुछ, it was 4,567, something like this. So I made it 4,500 crore. But in 2024, it increased to 13,000 crore. देख रहे हो आप? And what is the total increase? Roughly around 190%. 190% increase in the allocation of fund only meant for tribal areas. ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा. It's very good. Now next point, see, there is something called Development Action Plan for Scheduled Tribes. Its name is Development Action Plan for Scheduled Tribes. You would have studied this in GS paper 2. So under this, what happens? There are 42 ministries and departments. बहुत ध्यान सुनिए बच्चों. There are 42 different ministries and departments, including all the ministries and departments. Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, these are ministries. 42 ministries and departments. Government of India has told them that you, Mr. Ministry, in the field of education, Government of India has allocated some fund to you, Ministry of Education. From that fund which you have got, Ministry of Education, can you remove some part and specifically devote that part for tribal education development? So there are 42 ministries and departments. Whenever they get fund from the budget, what they do is they separate out some fund and they spend it for tribal development related to their ministry. So Ministry of Education for tribal education, Ministry of Health for tribal health. And what is the range of that money that they separate out? Roughly, it ranges from 4.3% to 17.5%. So suppose I am Ministry of Health. I have got 100 crore rupees from Government of India. So I will separate out 5% out of it. So 5 crore separated, and I will invest this money 5 crore in the tribal health programs of India, under which category called as Development Action Plan for STs. So if UPSC will ask you a question that what are the schemes or efforts by Government of India for tribal development, so pehle to you will write these two schemes, and then you will make an assessment and write that, okay, over a period of time it has happened like this. Uske baad you will write governance related points, geography related point, you will make a map, and you will show which are the tribal areas of India. So that's your static part. But where is the current affairs part? That's your current affairs part. And this plays a big role. Imagine karo that if you only write in your exam for tribal development, Government of India is taking a lot of steps for tribal development. This is the map. These are the tribes. And government is improving their health, education, blah, blah, blah. Full stop, done. और ये सब नहीं लिखा आपने. You don't write all this. Marks नहीं मिलेगा. You won't get marks. So these are the things that we extract from the budget. ठीक है? One of your friends said something about मुझे check करने दीजिए. And if I need to change it, I will change it. This part, no. ठीक है, this is fine. That's your interest rate, 11.6. So it's not 1.16, 11.6. And यहाँ पे भी आप ऐसे ही करोगे. हाँ. उसको चेक कर लेना, उसको चेंज कर लेना फिर, ठीक है, बिकॉज दिस इज लाइक दिस ओनली. तो बट दैट फिगर इज करेक्ट. और जो भी सबट्रैक्ट करके आ रहा है वो आप कर लो, इसीलिए आई मेड यू डू दिस. आप कर लो. आई डिड इट वर्बली, आप कैलकुलेटर पे कर लो. सो यू विल गेट द नंबर्स. चलो वापस आते हैं. सो गाइज इसको लिखना पड़ेगा. डू यू वांट टू राइट दिस और डू यू फील दैट आई शुड गिव यू द हैंडआउट? आप बता दो. हैंडआउट ले लेते हैं, बिकॉज इफ यू टेक द हैंडआउट फ्रॉम मी अबाउट दिस, it will help you. Why to waste your time in writing this? ये तो पता ही है आपको. But the main purpose of showing this in the class was that I wanted to show you how to create these points for the exam without writing too much. It helps. आपने किया था वो? Okay. तो फिर आपको लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है. बस इस टाइम पे आपको दो ही चीज, there are only 1 or 2 things that which you can add. So for example, this method of learning the schemes, that is something interesting. And second is you just needed to add this for your mains exam, because budget won't give you this directly. You have to extract this information from your knowledge of polity. ये आप कर लोगे तो हो जाएगा. So this is what I suggest. Then inclusive growth. This is also mentioned by the government. दिखाऊं कि कहाँ? Let's have a look at this where it is mentioned. So for example here, ये देखिए क्या लिखा है? विकसित भारत. And what is written? Prosperous Bharat in harmony with nature, modern infrastructure, opportunities for all. इसी को तो कहते हैं inclusive growth. So what does Government of India want? Government of India wants inclusive growth. What is the concept of inclusive growth in India? The concept of inclusive growth is, बताइए, you help me. You should pakka contest election. I'll vote for you. Right? What is inclusive growth? आप बताओ. You will never be wrong. जो भी आप बोलोगे, it will be right. बताइए बच्चों, to my online students, what is inclusive growth? You please write. हाँ. Physical development and human development. हाँ सही बोल रहे हो. He's right. So he says physical development. Physical development means economic growth. है ना? I understand your feelings. By this you mean economic growth. Am I right? Very nice. Very innocent kid. And somebody said economic development. हाँ, very nice. Economic development. किसके लिए? For whom? हाँ, but for whom? For all. ये तो simple है ना, for all. तो यहाँ पे लिख दो. Equal opportunity for all. That's it. Simple. This is our inclusive growth, which is mentioned by the Government of India. So now Government of India says, ये तो ठीक है. This is DPSP. तभी तो we have written that. And this is economics. What is the meaning of inclusive growth? Meaning of economic growth? Meaning of economic growth is GDP. We want to increase our GDP. That's the first. Bhai, if I don't have money in my pocket, how will I distribute? So first thing that I require is money. This money should be used to provide health, education, poverty reduction, water, electricity, housing, women empowerment, etc., etc. इसके लिए you should use this money. And then we are saying that money should come here, and then we are saying this should be done not only for the urban areas of India or so-called elite of India. It should be done for entire India. Then I will call it as inclusive growth. So your money should convert into this, and then people should be able to access it. You should not discriminate against anybody. Hai? That is called as inclusive growth. But it's not that simple. There are few things which has been done by Government of India in this year's interim budget as well as full-fledged normal budget, which you have to understand. Few things have been added by the government. आपको पता है क्या what has been added? मैं दिखाता हूँ आपको. I'll show you this. See, क्या लिखा है इसमें? What is written, guys? It's written that there is something called PM Janjatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan 2024. And we have said that we are going to do tribal development. Bola na? We have said that we are going to do tribal development. In how many villages? 63,000. And how many tribes will be covered? 5 crore. Now, when we wrote 63,000 villages, what is the need to write the number of tribes? Kya zo? Likh to diya villages. Which means Government of India can take electricity to each of these villages and say, my job is done, bhai. I have given electricity. Do you think that is called inclusive growth? No. If you look at that series called Panchayat series, you will see where is the CCTV installed, where is that solar light installed. Oh, dekh rahe ho aap? So one person is taking everything. So village is getting it, but only 1 or 2 families are taking the advantage of all the solar lights and all. So if you take electricity to the village, only give it to the sarpanch, or only you give it to 2-3 people, elite people of the village, because they are the zamindars, and say, ha, my job is done. Inclusive growth achieved because village got it. Wrong. So Government of India is saying that exactly 10 years back, this was the model of India. Take water to village, electricity to village, rural electrification scheme. Now government is saying, no, not rural electrification. What we are going to do is household electrification. Matlab every family in every village should get it. So when every person in every village gets the facility, that is called as saturation principle. It's saturated. Matlab everybody is getting everything. So Government of India is saying that inclusive growth has some new features. What are the new features of inclusive? ये लिखना चाहिए आपको. You should write this. लिख लो कहीं पे in your handout, in your notebook. This formula you should write, and फटाफट you should write these features. So what is the first feature that the government is doing? It is called as geographical aspect. What is the geographical aspect? So instead of village, we are going to individual households. Yes, that is correct. So instead of village, we are going to individual household. What is this principle called as? I named the principle. Saturation principle. It is called saturation principle. So in the entire budget and economic survey, government has repeatedly used saturation. बहुत बार they have used it. Okay, saturation. Second, did you watch that debate related to nepotism in Bollywood? Huh? So don't take the name of minister. So equal opportunities for all. That's equal opportunities for all. So what is that debate related to nepotism? If you are the son and daughter of a particular person, then you will land up in the same profession, you will get some preference, etc., etc. So the government of India is saying, dekho, it is okay. We are saying that we will take electricity to every household. But suppose when the policymakers or the people who implement the scheme, they take electricity to a village, what they will do is they will say, dekho, we have limited funds this month. So first we will give the electricity connection to the elite of the village. That's nepotism. Because you are already selecting the elite and you are giving it to them. That's problem. That's discrimination. Or suppose that person says, no, first electricity will be given to only those households where the head of the family is man. Women-led families will not get electricity first. Men-led families will get it first. Discrimination based on gender. Similarly, nepotism based on wealth. Similarly, based on status, if we start to provide you facilities. So I am giving it to households, but I am in a very subtle manner, I am discriminating. So Government of India is saying, no, we won't accept that. So what is the second principle called as? जो आप बोल रहे थे, social justice. Social justice. So what is government saying? Government is saying that facilities will be given to all without discrimination. Discrimination won't be followed in India. So there is a term for this. What is this principle called as? Mentioned in the budget. It is called as secularism in action. secularism in action. Secularism in action. Is it okay? Cool. Now, third thing. अच्छा एक बात बताइए. Did you notice that UPSC asked a question 2 years back where UPSC said in GS paper 2, can you believe it? In GS paper 2, they said India has launched a lot of welfare schemes, but inflation management is a problem which impacts the vulnerable section of the society. So on one hand, government of India is giving food to everyone. On the other hand, government gives electricity. But you tell me that food and electricity is the only requirement of life. So if I'm a poor section of the society, government of India is giving me food under Food Security Act. Government of India is also trying to give me some units of electricity maybe. What about other things? Transportation. Is transportation free everywhere? No. And there are other requirements of life, clothes, other requirements of life, some skill training program, etc. Suppose I'm not able to pay, I'll not be able to get a skill. There are many things for which I have to pay out of pocket. So if inflation happens, it impacts every price. And if every price is impacted, if I'm vulnerable section, I'm finished. This is the question which UPSC asked. That good government, you are giving food. I'm happy. Ayushman Bharat, I'm happy. But what about other things of life? Inflation impacts me badly. That's not inclusive growth. Because who will survive inflation? Rich section, the higher section of the society, they easily digest inflation. The lower section is not able to digest inflation. They are vulnerable. So inclusive growth should definitely include the word inflation. So third component of inclusive growth these days, third component of inclusive growth these days is economic aspects. इसमें क्या कहती है government? Government says that first, I will control inflation because inflation hurts the poor the most. And second, the government of India says that I will give infrastructure to every section of the society. बच्चों, government of India creates a nice school which is 30 kilometers away from my village. Which children from which family will be able to go to the school? Children from the family where there is a motorbike or a car, they'll be able to go to the school. Because it's a security threat. They can't cross the jungle like this. So if my father does not, if my family, I'm a school kid, my family does not have the means and resources for transportation, I'll not be able to go to the school. But this is called as discrimination, very subtle way of discrimination. So government will say, I have given school, but will I be able to go to school? No. So government of India should give me good roads and transportation facility also. So that's your infrastructure. So what is inclusive growth? Ye hai aapka inclusive growth. And this is where you have to write all these things for UPSC. ठीक है? This part is done. Chalo, next part. Budget 2024-25. This is the budget 24-25. I say half of the things we have already done. So budget 24-25 ka, see, this is the theme of the budget. लिख लो फटाफट. Just write the themes. It will help you to memorize. सिर्फ theme लिखो. I won't give you too much of dictation. Simple things. Remaining part I'll give you in the handout. Just write the theme. What are the themes of the budget? चलो पढ़ते हैं. Let's read it, guys. To my online students, let's read the theme. It says employment, skilling, MSME, middle class. So how many themes are there? 4 themes are there. Now, Government of India has said that, and remember last time what was the theme of the budget? The interim budget? Interim budget, Gyan. It has changed now. But has it really changed? नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. You see employment and skill, especially for youth and every section of the society. Of course it is there. Because here youth will be covered, women will be covered, vulnerable section will be covered. Of course it is there. So Government of India is saying this is our theme. For employment and skilling, बच्चों बहुत ध्यान से. This is where it gets interesting. For employment and skill, the finance minister made an announcement that there is something called PM's package of 5 schemes. So PM's package of 5 schemes is something new which is mentioned in the budget. And this set of 5 schemes will continue next year also, which means that it becomes important for your UPSC prelims and mains next year, next to next year. It's very important. It's very important. So let us see what is this PM's package of 5 schemes. It is going to benefit 4.1 crore youth, and Government of India is going to spend roughly 2 lakh crore on this. This is the expenses for the Government of India. That's your expenditure. And this is the number of youth who are going to get the benefits out of these 5 schemes. For employment, out of these 5, there are 3 schemes for employment. And it is going to benefit roughly 2.9 crore youth. And for skill, there are 2 schemes, which is going to benefit 1.2 crore youth. So, आपको याद रखना है 3 schemes for employment and 2 schemes for skill. These are the themes of the budget. Acha, to achieve this, to achieve all these 4 things, Government has decided upon these 9 priority areas. These are our priority areas that we are saying that we will achieve those 4 things through this. Now, this has to be understood as well as memorized. So, what are the areas? 9 priority areas for generating ample opportunities. चलो देखते हैं. Productivity and resilience in agriculture. ये क्या जरूरत है लिखने का? What is the need to write productivity? What has happened to Indian agriculture that we are talking about productivity? You have to use the right word. हाँ, less productive. Has Indian agriculture become less productive? Since when? Since when? It started from 80s, and from 90s it became almost stagnant. The productivity in Indian agriculture has almost become stagnant. Government of India is feeling the trouble. What is the meaning of productivity, bacho? The meaning of productivity is this is your agriculture field. From this agriculture field, you are getting 100 kg rice every year. So what has happened in India was earlier from this field, you are getting 10 kg rice, 20, 30, 40, 80, 90, 100. Productivity was increasing. So per agricultural field, how much output you are getting. So when it became 100 kg, now it has become stagnant. 100, 101, 100, 101, ऐसे it has become stagnant now. It is not improving. Why? Too much of urea. And we are not letting the soil recover its health. So something else is lacking in the soil and we are giving some other fertilizers. Sulfur is missing, we are adding nitrogen. Groundwater is also below. Plus, we are not able to use modern techniques of production. So some big machines, some, for example, new methods of production cannot be applied to small farming communities and small farming land because our land size is very small. These are also the problem, which means research and development is not happening to that level. Oh, research and development. How does research and development happen in agriculture? When private sector makes investment, which means that private sector pakka is not interested in Indian agriculture. How do we know that? So if you look at the investment made by private sector, you will see in the budget it is mentioned that the investment made by private sector in the field of agriculture is less than 2%. Less than 2%. It's very, very minuscule. So unless private sector is motivated to invest, research and development will not happen in agriculture and productivity will not improve. So Government of India is saying that in India, the problem is not agriculture, because we are one of the largest producers of almost everything: rice, wheat, cereals, fruits, vegetable. Sab kuch mein we are in the top 5 of the world. Overall production wise, we are heroes. But when it comes to productivity, our productivity has become almost fixed. Matlab, every day I'm reading 10 pages, 10 pages, 10 pages. Not a good thing. Where is progress? So government is saying first we should improve productivity, and second, resilience. Resilience means there must be something related to climate change. So Government of India is saying that global temperature is rising. We should develop that variety of seeds which is able to sustain the climate change which is happening today. Erratic monsoon, climate change, which means we again need high yielding variety of seeds which can adjust according to the new climatic condition. That is why it is mentioned productivity and resilience. Now you see employment and skilling. इसके लिए तो I told you that PM's package is there. So similarly for inclusive, I have already taught you inclusive growth. अभी पढ़ा है आपको inclusive growth components. And then you have manufacturing and services. There are schemes by the government. Urban development. So for that there is what is the biggest requirement of urban development? Infrastructure, and especially transportation facilities, movement of people, movement of goods. So that's there. Then energy security, renewable energy, because by 2030 we have to make sure that 50% of our energy comes from non-fossil. Paris Convention, that's there. Infrastructure, आपको पता है 11.11 lakh crores capex, effective capex 15 lakh crores. So that's there. And then innovation, research and development. What is the money out of GDP that we invest in research and development? 0.65%. That's our investment in research and development. And who is the biggest culprit of low research and development in India? Private sector. पैसे नहीं खर्चते. They don't spend money in research and development. They become very conservative in that. They say, nah, India is not a good country to invest because all the brain of India is outside. They have gone to US, UK, etc., etc. Right. Next is next generation, an army and next generation reform. And who will carry this next generation reform? You. Because when you crack this exam, it's very easy. If I'm the government, I will create a list of next generation reform. And when my next generation IAS officers will come, I'll say, do it. And that's your job, right? So I pass on my headache to you by telling you this is next generation. Obviously, this belongs to you. आपको जानना जरूरी है. What mess you are getting in. I mean, what are the things you are getting into? These things we are going to study. अब देखो, there are two ways of studying it. One, reading of the PDF. दिखाता हूं मैं आपको. How is PDF read? This is a PDF. Open it and start reading. देखो कैसे. This is the worst way of preparing for UPSC. Research and development, improve it through involvement of private sector, natural farming, 1 crore. There is another way. Start making pictures here. Put lots of pictures. Oh, what is the advantage of doing these kind of two things? It doesn't help. आपको क्या करना है? You have to go into a story behind this, that why this, and what is the linkage between each of these, and what are the points that I need to extract for UPSC. जैसे if you simply say government is trying to promote R&D, where will you use this? ये तो सबको पता है. Everybody knows this. What is the point of saying this? This is wastage of time. Similarly, if I tell you government is trying to promote natural farming, why? For whom? What is natural farming? So simply reading this is not going to help. This is not called as budget preparation. There are people who will give you 3 pages of summary of the budget and they'll tell you easy for you. Easy? No, it's not easy. It's destruction of your career. What is the point of reading all this? So I tell you another method of reading this and how to understand why the government of India has taken it as a priority. मैं एक story सुनाता हूँ. देखिए. So come here, please. देखो, I am a pure vegetarian guy. Before you judge me. To my online students, see there is something in front of you. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? What is this called as? Shrimp. Who said shrimp? Pakka, you're a non-vegetarian. Vegetarian. Right. But he says my current affairs is very strong. There's nothing wrong in being non-vegetarian. It's fine. Like my entire family is non-vegetarian, other than me. So, though I survive. So guys, see, this is shrimp. Obviously, I didn't take this picture on my dining table. I got it from internet. Now, why did I bring shrimp in front of you? There is too much of scope in shrimp. आपको पता है क्या? India is one of the largest producers and exporters of shrimp in the world. India is in rank 1, 2, 3. So India is either ranked second sometimes ranked third, mostly ranked second in terms of production and export. If you go to US market, roughly 40% shrimps in US market comes from India. That is the scope. So there are a lot of people who say that I have very small plot of land. I can't cultivate. Land hi chota hai na, because our land fragmentation has happened. So a lot of farmers are saying, I don't have much land, but I need to sustain myself. How will you help those kind of farmers? कोई बात नहीं, you help your farmers to get into allied activities like aquaculture, like poultry, animal husbandry. उसमें डाल, you put them there. So one of the things that India is doing these days is promoting shrimps. So India says that, government of India is saying that let me talk to NABARD. And government of India told NABARD, why don't you provide money to those people who are in rearing of shrimps and they are in the export of shrimps, so that food processing industry can also develop in India. And yes, of course, correct. So MP correct, Pushkar correct, HS, yes. Your friend HS is asking, how does it taste? Sorry, no idea. Wrong person to ask the question. You please Google it. So guys, come here. तो इसका मतलब है that whenever government of India is saying that I'll promote agriculture and allied activities, shrimps must figure in there. है ना पक्का? It must be there, and it is there. So government of India is trying to promote the shrimp cultivation and export out of it. That's story number 1. एक और question है आपसे. That do you think that Indians are eating a lot of protein these days? सही बताना, do you know it or not? Yeah, Indians are eating a lot of protein. So if you are a non-vegetarian, so what is the source of protein for you? ये सब सामने आप देख ही रहे हो. Like fish, mutton, eggs, chicken. These are the sources of protein for you. But if you are a vegetarian, what are the sources of protein for you? Pulses, soya. Soya, Madhya Pradesh is the best. Pulses, which are the pulses which are demanded most by India? वैसे तो Indians eat every kind of pulse, but which are the pulses which are mostly demanded by the Indians? Tur, arhar, and urd. So there are 3 pulses which are demanded by Indians a lot. These are also the 3 pulses. Since we demand it a lot and we are not able to produce that much, so we are importing it a lot. So our new taste is protein, and specifically for vegetarian people, pulses is a life savior. And these are the pulses which we are eating a lot, we are demanding a lot, but we are not able to produce. Hence, we have to import. ऐसा नहीं है we don't produce pulse, but the demand is very much high compared to the supply. So we import. So government of India says very bad. Because if you keep on importing pulses like this, then our balance of payment will go in deficit. There will be huge problems. So government said, no, let's launch a mission to promote pulses in India. That's the one thing that we have done. Abhi aaram se story suno. Keep memorizing this. There is something else which you guys love, and that is cookies and Maggi. तो खाते ही हो आप? In cookies and Maggies, what is used? What is one of the biggest things that is used there? Palm oil. Yeah, India is one of the largest importers of palm oil in the world. So government of India is saying that first of all, we should motivate Indians through behavioral economics that please do not consume this much of palm oil. But I said the government cannot go openly outside and say don't eat palm oil. The countries which are sending it, they will take action against us in WTO. And there are many companies which are running business of cookies manufacturing, etc. They will be shut down. We can't do like that. We have to make small changes. Substitute palm oil with something healthy. But till the time we find something healthy, Government of India says we should reduce our dependence on palm oil and substitute it with better oil. So for that, we have released a mission for pulses and oil seeds. Now, there is one thing which the Government of India did last year, and government says, ye aage bhi karenge. So government said, whenever we fall short of pulses, we call some countries in the world. Which country? Our best friend? Brazil. Italy. Yes. So we call some of our best friends. We have best friends for different purposes. Italy is selfie friend. So we call Brazil. And we tell Brazil, Mexico, we tell Malawi, we tell these countries that, hey, countries, you are very good in pulses. Can you send your pulses to us? Not on year-to-year basis. But we tell them, let's sign long-term contract for 5 years and 10 years. We will buy bulk, but give discounts. So what has India done? India has made a list of countries whom we are going to target. Whom we are going to be friends with, sorry. And we are going to tell these countries, let's sign long-term contracts. It will control food inflation in India. I will say, correction. Long-term contracts for pulses and oil seeds. Yes, Russia. So this is also one thing. So, what did we see? We saw something, shrimp. Then we saw pulses. Then we saw oil seeds. Now, what did I tell you? That roughly 89.4% farmers of India, these are small and marginal farmers, 89.4, which means the land is not sufficient for them for cultivation. They need something else along with land, which is animal husbandry, poultry, aquaculture. These are the things they require. So government of India is saying, why not promote natural farming? Because in natural farming, you do this cultivation of crops and you try to keep it as natural as possible. You try to use less fertilizers and all. And second, in natural farming, the most important thing is, along with crop cultivation, you do other things which also creates an ecosystem. So for example, if you are cultivating a crop and you put too much of water there, you put fish inside it. Go to Visakhapatnam, you'll see this. Go to different parts of India, easily you can see. So which means that you are doing allied activities like poultry, fishing, along with your crop cultivation. This is natural farming and you use less these chemicals as much as possible. So government of India is saying we'll promote this. Ye theek hai? Now government of India is saying that Indian farmers are very small. What is the data? 89.4% of Indian farmers are small and marginal. If you are a small farmer, do you have a good bargaining capacity? No, you have very small bargaining capacity. When you go to sell your crop, you will get low price. So government says, create more of food, this farmer producer organization FPO, and create more of cooperatives. So government says create more of groups of farmers like cooperatives and FPO. Uske liye you need a national cooperation policy. So government of India is saying, I'm also trying to bring a national cooperation policy. Ab chalo dekhte hain, whatever we said, is it there or not? Let's check. Check it one by one. Research and development, I told you, private investment is less than 2%. We are trying to improve it. Number two, natural farming. Government is trying to bring 1 crore farmers there. And we know the story why. Why government is trying to introduce natural farming in India? Because yes, because I told you 89.4% farmers of India are small and marginal. Unke liye this is important. And for saving the soil also. Next three, new high yielding variety of seeds, climate resilience. And then you have mission for pulses and oil seed already done. For vegetable supply chain, promote FPO and cooperatives. Yeah. And then you have digital infrastructure for agriculture. Remember agricultural mission? I told you agri stack, where you are creating the data for all the farmers, the village and the land, everything. Ye dekho uska picture. The picture is there. Farmer, the land, the crop, the soil health, and the village. And all the schemes by center and state. When you collect everything in a mobile app and put all the data, the moment you put my name, I am a farmer, the moment you put my name there, pata uske andar kya aayega? Immediately, if you create digital agriculture, immediately this mobile app will show, acha, this farmer's land size is this. This is his boundary, a map will come. And then you will see that there in the map only, it will show that this soil is rich in this nutrient, but not so rich in this. Well, soil health will also be shown. So soil health card will be integrated. Plus, it will also show whether this farmer is taking benefit of central schemes or state schemes like PM Kisan. Am I taking the benefit or am I taking crop insurance? How much crop insurance did I take last year? All these data, everything, which village I belong to, entire data will be there in front of the government of India. So government of India is also trying to introduce digital agriculture. और उसके नीचे देखो shrimp production, national cooperation, and how much money is being given? 1.52 lakh crores. इस तरह से you have to prepare this. If you simply read it, ये पढ़ते जाओ, it won't help you because UPSC सीधा इससे they won't ask you questions. They will ask you derived question. So बच्चों एक काम करते हैं. That is what I think I should do. I should give you a handout on this where this information will be mentioned. A summarized form of information will be mentioned so that you can read it and your preparation will be complete. ऐसा कर ले? Because there is no end to writing. अगर लिखने लोगे तो it will take you 20 hours to write. Don't do that. So you just understood the story. Whatever important, you can write some points. And remaining things, what you can do is you can wait for my handout. It will reach you. जैसे इसके लिए I'll send you this part, and I'll write some things here so that you get a complete picture. अब देखो next point. Employment वाला point. If you read PDF, it's like this. I tried reading it. I mean, by the government of India, I slept. So I took a nap like 2 hours. Then I woke up. ये तो नहीं चलेगा. This is very difficult to study. You convert this into this. Now that's easy. That entire page is this. Super easy. अब कैसे? I will send you this page. So what is this page? I'm going to tell you a story to my online and offline student. Listen to the story carefully. This story will always fit in your mind. ध्यान से सुनना please. That what is this PM's package of 5 scheme? This is the second priority. Listen to the story carefully and you give me your 100% for next 5 minutes. I promise you, you will never forget this story. Just give me your 100%. 5 minutes, okay? And this will be complete. See how. Now this scheme was announced by the government of India. Don't look at the board. Just keep listening to the story and try to visualize which I'm saying. So this was announced by government of India on 23rd of July 2024. Suppose that all of us together, online, offline, me included, all of us are going to take up a new job. Now suppose that the job that we have got is giving us a salary of up to 1 lakh rupees a month, not more than that. Because if you get more than 1 lakh rupees a month, government will not support you. Government will say, beta, you are rich. So government says up to 1 lakh rupees, I'll help you, not more than that. So suppose our salary is 90,000, something like that. All of us have joined a job. The moment we join the job, the government of India says, hey, congratulations. I'm going to transfer 15,000 rupees, 1 month wage as a gift in your account. Up to 15,000 rupees. Now, but the condition is that your salary should not exceed 1 lakh rupees a month. That's condition number 1. But there is one more condition. That condition is important. So government of India says, beta, this I will not give you at one go. This will be given in the form of installment. So let's say 3 installments, 5, 5, 5, or 5 and 10. ऐसा मान लो. So government of India says, first I will give you the first installment, let's say 5,000, and then I will tell you to enroll in an online course related to financial literacy. You have to enroll in an online course where you learn financial literacy. चाहे आप evening classes online or weekend online classes, and there are many classes available on government platform also, SWAYAM, etc. Free of cost is available. So you have to conduct that. You have to participate in that online class, complete it, and give the certificate to government that I have completed. अब ये नहीं that you ask your mom and dad to complete the class और certificate उठा के दे दो. So you should enroll and complete the class as first timers. And the moment you complete it, your next installment will be released. So if UPSC has to create a question for you, UPSC will ask you these kind of things. What are the eligibility conditions? So first eligibility is that your salary should not increase 1 lakh. And second is that first installment will be given, but the other installment will be released upon the completion of financial literacy course, which is online. Abhi theek hai? This is the part which you have to memorize. Take a story fit in the mind. Second example. Now, look at the second scheme. Isko kaise samjhenge? See. So, this part. I'll make it super easy for you, but you please give your 100% focus. See how it operates. So, there is an employer. Employer means owner of a company. This person gives you employment. Now, suppose that we are new in the job market. And since the scheme has been announced in the current budget, obviously, it will be applicable for people who are going to get into the job market now. So, there is one owner of the company. We are this person. We want the job. So, we went there. The moment we went there, this person says that you work for me, I'll give you salary. but sorry, I will not give you social security benefits. आप बोलोगे क्यों? Why will you not give you social security benefits? So this person will tell you, boss, I will not give you social security benefits because there is something called as provident fund. So suppose your salary is 100 rupees. The rule of the provident fund is that out of 100 rupees, you have to contribute, let's say, 12 rupees in the provident fund. Every month from your salary, 100 rupees your salary, you contribute 12. Matlab, how much will you get? 88. Equal amount has to be contributed by employer also. So this employer says, sorry, I will not give you this provident fund ka option and I will appoint you as a casual worker. Work for me for 6 months and leave. I will appoint somebody else. Or I will let you work for 6 months, then I will fire you for 1 day. So that when I reappoint you, it will be a new appointment. Yeah, it is done. It's so sad, but it is done. Many of the big business houses follow this rule. So you get an appointment. I know of people. So I remember that very recently I was speaking to somebody who is a salesperson in a big store. So I was looking at that. Looked like a very young guy. So I asked him that, what do you do other than this? He said, nothing. I said, why? He said, sir, there is a problem. The problem is that he opened up. He said that, I work here. I get a 20,000 rupees salary every month. I said, only 20,000. He said, yeah, 20,000 rupees. I work for 8 hours, 10 hours. I said, that's exploitation. He said, where isn't exploitation? Everywhere it is there. I said, chalo, theek hai. Tell me what happened. So he said that I work there. I have completed 1 year or 2 years. So now was the time when my salary increment should have happened. So I said, what happened? He said, nothing, they fired me. I said, fired you? Why? They said, because if I completed 2 years, then they promised that they will give a salary increment. They fired me for 1 day and then they called me again. They said, fir se aa jao. I said, how? He said, I started afresh. So I start at the lower salary only. Unbelievable. This is exploitation. So this employer says, I will do the same thing to you. Sorry, I can't contribute and I won't let you contribute. Ab dekho, the problem of this is, Government of India says, if I keep blaming them, etc., nothing will happen. So government directly came and said, hold on. I promise you that whenever somebody comes for employment, this money that you are contributing and this money that you are contributing, government said, I will give some help here also and some help here also. Details will be released by Government of India later on. Government of India said, I will give incentives. And since these have been announced in the budget, over a period of time, you will get the fine prints that what help is the government giving. So government says, I will give some help here, so that both of you can deposit money here, so it will not be a burden for you and you. So this company said, kab tak doge? For how long will you give this? So Government of India said that I'm going to give it for first 4 years. So this guy said that, no, I think it's not a good deal. So Government of India said, what happened to you? He said, no, but I mean, some incentives is not good enough. Why should I participate? Casual worker, gig worker is fine for me. Government said, hold. In addition to this, some help, I am also going to give you 3,000 rupees per month in your account. That 3,000 you have to deposit in the provident fund, which will cover this 12%. So two things are being done by the Government of India. First, government is giving some incentive that you will get to know when the fine print is out. Some incentive to both. But to this guy, since he's not motivated, government is saying, I will give you incentive plus 3,000 rupees in your account, which you have to deposit here. You can't keep the money. So now he's saying, हाँ अभी ठीक है. So Government of India said, I'll give that money to you for, ये देखो कहीं लिखा होगा, हाँ, for 2 years. So he said, agreed. This is your employment linked incentives. So is it easy or difficult to understand? Easy to hai. It is very easy. Through a story, it's easy. Now next part, ITIs. What happens in ITIs? So they are basically vocational training institutes. जैसे for example, बच्चों, suppose that I belong to a rural area or semi-urban area, and I am not able to go into, let's say, a proper engineering college. But I know that I can become a mechanic, for example, or I can fix mobile phones. Where will I go to get that training? I'll go to get that training in ITIs, Industrial Training Institutes. So Government of India is saying that the way the training is made, is given to the ITI students is very outdated. Government is saying, why mobile phone repair, laptop repair, it doesn't help because the world has moved out of that. We are moving towards automation, artificial intelligence, robotics. Who will repair those things? Who will fix those things? And if a student from a rural area, semi-urban area learns this art, imagine what kind of salary they can earn. So Government of India is saying that I'm going to upgrade this. so that I can teach a lot of things like cyber security, और वो सब चीजें इसमें will update. And then there is a last scheme for internship. अब देखो story time. It's a super easy scheme. देखो what are the keywords we wrote? 5,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees, 12 months and one time. अब इसको create करके I'm going to tell you a story and then you will say, अच्छा, this is what the government is doing. Super easy through a story. See what the government is doing. So for example, बच्चों, the government of India is inviting some of the best companies of India, and government is saying that the companies have full freedom whether they want to volunteer in this or not. So government is going to create a list of 500 top companies. Now the government of India is saying that in these 500 top companies, it is compulsory, since they opted for it, that they have to take students for internship. So suppose that, let's take my example. Let's say that we apply for internship. So the moment we get, acha, internship is not permanent. It will be for 12 months. Internship matlab on the job training. So suppose that we join this. The moment we come this, immediately government of India says, beta, I will give you 5,000 rupees per month for 12 months, which means 60,000 rupees will be given to you in the form of stipend. That's your monthly money that will be deposited in your account. Then government of India says, this is for 12 months. Then government says, I will also give you one-time transfer of 6,000 rupees. So total, it will be 6,000 rupees, which means total 66,000 rupees. Then the government of India says, since it is on the job training, the moment you enter this company for the training, a laptop has to be given to you, tabhi to you will do some work. So government says that laptop will be borne, that cost of the laptop will be borne by the company. So training cost by the company. Government doesn't do anything in that. Government says, aap karo. Company, you do it. Then government of India said, hey company, can I ask you a question? Company said, yes. So government of India said, do you know a concept called as corporate social responsibility, CSR? Every company has to do it under Companies Act. 2% of their funds they have to devote for CSR. So government of India said, my friend, this thing that you see here, bahut dhyan se dekhna bachcho, this thing that you see here, government says, out of this 60,000, government says, I will give rupees 54,000. And government says, the remaining 6,000, this has to be given by the company from its CSR. That's the thing. So first, government made a promise. Bachcho, bahut dhyan se. That's why I'm going a little slow and easy on this. This has to be understood. So government of India said that, you see, I make a promise to you that you will get 5,000 per month for 12 months. Everybody happy? Then government said one-time transfer 6,000 rupees. Happy? Then government says, wait, why should I give everything from my pocket? There is something called CSR. Government says, you also contribute. So company said, Batao, what do I have to give? Government said, out of this 60,000, I will give 54. Government said, I will give that. But remaining 6,000, choda sa amount, you have to give from your CSR. Plus this laptop which you are going to give to this kid for understanding everything for the internship, this laptop ka cost should also be covered from CSR that you give. Remaining part government says I will give. So in total, how much is government giving? 54 plus ye one time 6,000, 60. And how much is given by the company? 6,000 plus the training cost through CSR. That's it. Was it difficult? Thodi difficult, it's super easy. So this is how you should memorize this. So you should make these type of simple notes and see how easy it was for me. The moment I see this, no, how do I memorize? The moment I see this, I immediately recall, why will somebody give me 15,000 rupees just like that? For that, I also have to do something. What will I do? A course on financial literacy. Problem solved. If my salary is more than 1 lakh rupees, why should I get the help? Somebody whose salary is low, they should get the help. So again, that point is added here. Is tarah se you should prepare. Ab dekho on the other side, because I told you, ye dekho, this is so big. That's the other side is super easy. If you want a skill training, the government of India is saying that you can take a loan up to 7.5 lakh rupees for students, and government of India will give you the guarantee. If you go to a financial institution, they will give you up to 7.5 lakh rupees for skill. Skill can be short term also. Skill is value addition. Now, but if you take education loan, for example, you are supposed to do your masters, your MTech, MBA, wo sab education loan. So for that, you can get up to 10 lakh rupees. and interest subvention will be 3%, which means if the market rate of interest is 12%, you will be charged 9%, 3% gift to you. So, and plus, Government of India is also trying to increase the women participation in the workforce. The moment I see women participation, fatafat I should close my eyes and I should look at the data. What is the current women participation in the labor force of India? 37%. Labor force participation rate, देखो, labor force participation rate is for both male and female. Both male and female, they participate in the workforce. So the moment I see increased women in the workforce, immediately my mind should run in that direction. Acha, what is the labor force participation rate of women? 37%. Has it increased? Yeah. Earlier it was 23%. Now it has become 37%. So in a decade, huge progress has happened. And specifically, which women is coming forward in the work? Rural women. And that's a great news. And why rural women is coming? Two things have happened. Feminization of agriculture, as well as the rural women is going into food processing industries and self-help group. Lakhpati Didi scheme, Drone Didi scheme, right? Self-help groups through National Livelihood Mission. So yes, first is self-help group, second is feminization of agriculture, and third is in food processing industry, the participation of women has increased. आपको पता है, out of all the industries in India, if you look at the MSMEs currently, how much percentage of MSMEs in India is rural and how much is urban? 51% of the chotu industries, MSME industries currently in India is rural. 51%. Few years back, it was 20%. And you know, MSMEs are providing a lot of employment to rural women because they are more disciplined, right? I can see the smile on her face. He's also smiling. Acha, you are biased, right? So I'm not saying it, government is saying it, right? So guys, this is how you complete this scheme. Ye to ho gaya aapka complete. This is done. So now we go to the next one. ये देखो क्या है? मुझे भी नहीं पता. What is this? Inclusive growth. If somebody tells you, beta, memorize this, seriously, will you ever do that? Why will you do it? I mean, if you start reading and memorizing this, it's a recipe for disaster. It's like a suicide we are doing. We should not do these things. हाँ, सब सोचना भी नहीं. We should never do that. You should convert it into this diagram, and then you will be able to do. कैसे? So Government of India is saying that we are promoting inclusive human resource development and social justice. Oh, we have done that. Inclusive growth is equal to economic growth, economic development plus equal opportunities for all. And there are 3 dimensions. Please answer the 3 dimensions. The first dimension is geographical. Geographical, which is saturation. The second dimension is secularism in action. Very nice. And the third dimension is economic. वही तो है ये. So what is the first one? Concept. New concept has been given to us. And very smart by the Government of India. क्या लिखा है पता है in the budget? Government of India is saying, yeah, we have already told this in the interim budget, so why to repeat it? बताइए. So which means that you have to bring point from interim budget also. This is the interim budget. Second, see this. Government of India is saying East of India has not done that well in the sense of socio-economic indicators. So government says, I will promote Bihar, Bengal, Odisha by giving them special packages to improve their socio-economic condition. आप समझ ही रहे हो? Right? And then the government is saying, Andhra, you are the best. So I give you 15,000 crore. And the government is saying, this is inclusive growth. Right? Chalo, theek hai. Then Government of India is saying, Northeast, I always feel that you need extra help, so I'll help you. Dekho, this is genuine. The government has been doing this since last 10 years. In one thing, I can tell that this is not political. This is for strategic reasons. So these two, you understand. That's why you smiled. You're smart kids. Now I know one thing. No government can fool my kids, right? By saying this is a special, you understand. Achha. But this is seriously special because the Government of India is opening 100 branches of India Post Payment Bank in Northeast of India to improve financial inclusion. Okay? And next part is this. So see, government is trying to help the disadvantaged section. Isse poverty comes down, inclusive growth improves. Dekho, you already know this. Kaise? See, PM Awas Yojana, new target of 3 crore houses government has created. Women-led development, which means what is the proportion of the budget this year which has been devoted to women development? Roughly 3.1 lakh crore. Real hai 3.1 lakh crore. This is the money which has been there for gender budgeting. And next is for tribal development. Dekho, these we have already done. You know what is a stand-up India. Under stand-up India, money is given to entrepreneurs who are starting their business, which is led by women, SCs and STs. That's your stand-up. Vishwakarma, we have already seen, 18 artisans. Swanidhi, we know. And National Livelihood Mission is for both rural and urban area, where we promote self-help groups. We train especially women. Focus is women. Male is also there, but a special focus is on women empowerment through skill development and through self-help groups in rural and urban areas. इस तरह से you complete disadvantage section. So my suggestion is, whenever you read this kind, I told you this will be a capacity building. So whenever you do this, no, इस तरह से, you never read this line by line. There is no advantage. You won't be able to memorize this. It is not possible humanly to do it. So what's the jugaad? The jugaad is, and that's how I cover all these things in all the lectures that I take. So I convert all these things into broader heads. And then I try to see that what is government actually trying to do. If you read PPTs, etc., the time is lost. Don't read PPTs. Convert them into actual thought process that let me see what government is trying to do. And I can see, oh, 3 things government is trying to do. Disadvantage section, and then government is trying to promote inclusive growth and political compulsions. I mean, development of some states. Usi tarah se you see the next one. This is your MSMEs. MSMEs ke liye government of India has taken these steps. Ye dekho, count karo. So many steps. And for manufacturing, look at the steps that the government of India has taken. This is for manufacturing and services. How will you memorize this? It is humanly possible to memorize. What is the jugaad? So the jugaad is this, that you keep MSMEs on one side and you keep manufacturing on one side. And when I started to jot down the points, 7 points each. Oh, wow, great. 14 points in total, done. So what is the government of India doing? Abhi main batata hu aapko, one line on each, you will understand this. Because the details have not been told by the government. So what is the government of India doing? Government is just telling 2 lines, and government is saying, as the time progresses, I will give the blueprint of all this. So see, what is the first thing? So we are talking about this MSME. Ab dhyan se suna bachcho. The government of India says, I want to promote MSMEs in India. First, government used to say that if any MSME wants to adopt new technology or wants to invest money in machines, the government used to say that I am going to give you some money as subsidy, gift, and remaining part of the money I will give you as loan. But government used to put a limit that you can only take up to 15 lakh rupees from the government, 15 lakh rupees. So government says, say, I can't help because there are so many MSMEs in India. So how many MSMEs are there in India? Almost 6.3 crore MSMEs are there. So government says, I can't give more money than this. Then government of India realized, now that's not good. Government of India realized that there are some MSMEs who are actually big. They are called as, micro, small, and medium. The medium MSMEs are actually big. They are manufacturing LED TVs, etc. So government of India says, if we don't help them to get technology, how will they compete with other countries in the world? So what has the government started to do? Government of India said, I will release a new scheme. Under the new scheme, the government is saying, it is called Credit Guarantee Scheme for Machines and Equipment. If I am an MSME, I can take up to 100 crore rupees loan without giving any guarantee. Government becomes my guarantor, and I have to use that money to improve the technology, etc. in my company. This is possible now. Why? Because government of India wants that MSME should not remain MSME. Government says MSME should also become big industry so that I don't have to help you in future. So government says become big and leave me, please, so that I can help the real people who are small and vulnerable. Because why should government help LED manufacturer all the time? Isliye this scheme has been launched. Samajh rahe ho aap? Because one of the complaint against the government was, and this was a big complaint, I used to teach that in my GSN module classes, that there is a big complaint against the government that production linked incentive scheme only helps big industries. Small industries were not able to reach there. This was a complaint. Government says, koi baat nahi, small industries take 100 crore. A PLI scheme wali people are thinking that government, you are giving us like 6 crore, 7 crore, inko you are giving 100. Isse acha to we become MSME. Right? Think about this. Second is new credit assessment model by government of India. Ab dekho kya hai ye. Now imagine bachcho that I am MSME. I'm not very rich. I'm a normal MSME. I need loan. So I go to a bank, I tell my bank, can you give me loan? Bank will say, wait, let me find out your credit rating. And my credit rating will be found by credit rating agencies. Credit rating agencies will look at me and say, there is no future, boss. You are manufacturing pens. Your past history is also not very good. I said, past is past. Right. Focus on the current. So, but they are saying that past can never leave you. Samajh lo, past haunts. Be careful. Today's present will become tomorrow's past. So, they won't give me money. They will do a lot of drama. and they will increase the interest rate, etc., etc. So government of India said, hold on, why should we depend on other credit agencies? And there are many MSMEs in India who don't maintain their accounts. They don't have chartered accountants because it's costly to maintain chartered accountants, right? There are a lot of nakras of chartered accountants also. Like, come with the file, sit, let's have a meeting, give me a good black coffee. ये सब चलता रहता है. No, I'm not telling my experience. I'm just saying, right? So the MSMEs are saying, we don't need chartered accountant. Without chartered accountant, if you go to a bank to take loan, bank will say, where are your documents? We'll say, which document? They will say statement, profit, loss, etc., P&L. I'll say, I don't know what you are talking. They'll say, get up, please. So if you don't have a chartered accountant, documents are not ready, accounts are not ready, they will not even give you loan. Government say, no, this should not happen. So Government of India is saying that I'm telling all my public sector banks to create a new formula. Don't depend on others. Don't depend on Moody's, etc., S&P. So what do you Fitch? These are the credit rating agencies. Government says, let's create our own formula so that if MSME goes to take a loan, using the formula, we should be able to find out what is the credit worthiness or what is the capacity of this MSME to return the loans. Achha hai na ye? This is good? Yeah. Because we are depending on our own formula in the source. Yahi to likha hai next. Fir aap bologe, what is the model? Not developed yet. It is a proposal. Okay? Budget does not give you all the fine prints. It proposes things and slowly it is developed. Now, next one is Government Guarantee Fund for Stressed MSME. देखो, stress होता ही है, exam के time पे we develop a lot of stress. So, Government of India says, ध्यान सुना बच्चों, suppose I am MSME. I have taken 5 lakh rupees loan from a bank. I just missed this EMI. So, I was supposed to give the EMI today, but I missed it. And for next 30 days, I'm not able to give the EMI. What am I? Non-performing assets? Special mention account, SMA. I'm not NPA, I'm special mention account. So Government of India says, there might be a genuine problem with this guy. Why to punish him? Maybe inflation is there and he's not able to buy the raw material. So government says, you come again, we will give you some money so that you are able to survive. So even if you are under stress, the Government of India is saying that we are going to help the MSMEs. What is Mudra loan? Under Mudra Yojana, the Government of India provides, earlier, the Government of India used to provide up to 10 lakh rupees collateral-free funding to the MSMEs. Now the government is providing up to 20 lakh rupees collateral-free funding to the MSMEs under Mudra Yojana. Limit has been increased. SIDBI kya hai? Small Industries Development Bank of India. So now, so Government of India is saying that we will tell SIDBI to become more proactive and to release more funds for MSMEs. So SIDBI's presence across various states in India will be increased to increase the coverage of the MSME. Irradiation quality and safety. You remember the spices scandal, episode by some of the companies. So food processing industry of India, we send spices to rest of the world, just like China sends COVID. So we send spices, and some of the times, many a times the spices have a lot of toxic material inside them. And many times they also have some bacteria which should not be there. So what is irradiation in food processing? So for example, if you take a raw food and you pass some rays through it. So there are many type of bacteria which can be eliminated using some rays, specific rays. So Government of India is saying that we are going to promote this activity so that especially the meat industry, etc., the fruits, vegetable industry, they are going to benefit because through rays you can manage it. So for safety, for removing the germs, etc., this method government is saying we will promote this. And then economic hub, e-commerce hub for MSMEs. Ab ek baat bataiye. Suppose I'm a very small industry who converts mangoes into pickle or tomatoes into tomato ketchup. I will go on Amazon and I'll say, I'm going to sell the product on your platform. Amazon will say, yeah, yes, you can do that. But first, give me a fee, my commission of 60%. I'll say 60% commission, why? They will say expenses. And then if you Google, Jayant tomato ketchup, it will never show on Amazon. It will never show on Amazon. Right? So why it will not show on Amazon? Because I have not paid them extra money for marketing. My paise nahi, how do I pay them money for marketing? Right? So Government of India realized that there is one disadvantage for the MSMEs. So what is the Government of India doing? Government is saying that I will give you e-commerce access. I'll create a special e-commerce for you on a public-private partnership basis. Government will give a few things. Private sector will develop the mobile app like Infosys or Tata's. And on there, MSMEs can sell their product. Simple. So that's your MSMEs. So how many points? 7 points. If UPSC asks you a question of 10 marks in the exam, sab likhna padega. You'll have to write all this. One line. You can't write more than one line in the exam because then you will exceed the word limit. And then look at the manufacturing industry. So simple hai. 12 industrial parks ये तो है. So what is government of India doing? ये देखिए. So this is India. And there is a program called as National Industrial Corridor Program. What is National Industrial Corridor Program? Under that, we are selecting a city in a particular state and we are connecting other states through road, railway, airport, and other infrastructures. Since you are giving all the required infrastructure here, kaun sa? Road, railway, airport, if possible, seaport. You are also giving power, water facilities, warehouses. Everything is being given across this road. So this entire road is called as corridor. Why? Because now it is very easy for an industry to go and open their factory. This is called industrial corridor. So Government of India has said that in the industrial corridor, what are the things government is providing? Bataiye, what are the things government is providing? First is infrastructure. Second is industrial cluster, because group of industries will come here. A lot of industries can come here. Cluster means group. And the third thing which government is providing here is called as industrial smart cities, which means across this corridor, you will see industrial smart cities created in this entire corridor. Why? So that industrial smart cities can provide the best living conditions to the people who want to stay in that locality, maybe because they want to work in the factory, maybe they want to settle down. Best of facilities will be provided in the industrial smart city. Why is it called industrial smart city? Because it is being created in the industrial corridors. So for UPSC purposes, three things have to be understood here. That what is this program called as National Industrial Corridor Development Program? So under this program, there are three elements of the program, three components. First is infrastructure. Second is industrial cluster. And third is industrial smart city. Memorize this. In the industrial smart city, the government has said, I will develop 12 smart cities, and government said, I will invest 28,000 crores. You have to memorize the name of these industrial smart cities. Yaad karna padega. Oh, you remember this, Pushka? Very nice. You will have to memorize this. Okay, will you? Good. This I will provide to you. Ab dekho, I can't take the picture out as because. Right, so that's your first. Second, dekho, shipping industry is being promoted by Government of India. Easy. Then government is saying that I am launching a critical mission also. For example, cobalt, nickel. There are some minerals which have very specific uses. And they are very elite minerals, high valued minerals, because they have very specific uses, maybe in nuclear reactions, maybe, for example, in a chemical industry, maybe, for example, in pharmaceutical industry, maybe space industry. So there are some minerals which are required for specific reasons, and those need to be developed so that India becomes self-sufficient. Isliye India says, iske liye we have a mission. And then rental housing for workers. Ye kya hota hai? What is this rental housing for workers? So for example, let's say that there are 20 workers or 30 workers working in a factory. We are getting limited wages. Now imagine if I start to pay rent by taking a flat on rent in Karol Bagh area, etc. So imagine what kind of expenses will I have? I'll have nothing left in my pocket, because the people who are the landlords, etc., they will loot me, right? Food is costly, rent is costly, electricity is costly, transportation is costly. What will be left in my pocket? A hole, right? That's a bad thing, because when you have a hole in the pocket, heart also gets impacted. So what does Government of India do? Government of India says that I'm going to create this for the workers, a dormitory kind of thing where there will be living facility for 20, 30, 40 workers in one place with all the basic facilities there. So it will be a lot cheaper compared to a separate flat. I think that's a very welcome step. Why? Because all the time we are saying that we should take care of the workers, but it's a lip service. We never do that. So for the first time, Government of India is saying, I'll create living conditions for the workers in the sense of a dormitory. And next is DPI for industries, which means we will, just like in agriculture, we are creating everything digital by taking the records of the farmers, etc. Similarly, for industries, we will digitize them. Like from where are they buying the inputs, from where are they buying the raw materials, how much money are they investing, how much money is being invested in the machines. Every data will be there in the form of digital records. So that is also the next point. Next point is ease of doing business. What is ease of doing business? Rules and regulations will be industry friendly. For example, let's say I want electricity connection. In 1 hour, I should get it. I need a permission. If I'm a genuine industry, I should get the permission in 5 minutes. If not, chalo 1 ghanta, but I should get it. It should not happen that I apply for permission and I get the permission after 20 days. Now, bad. Now, last point is internship. Ito padha diya aapko. That young kids will go in the companies, top 500 companies. Achha, ek baat bataiye. Do you think that if you want to avail this facility of the internship, where 5,000 rupees a month plus one time 6,000 rupees is given to you, there must be some eligibility condition? Kuch hoga? Yeah, anybody can go. 100% eligibility condition is there. You must fall in a particular age group, 21 to 24 years. That's your first eligibility condition. Second eligibility condition is you should not be enrolled in a full educational program. Suppose I'm working in I'm a student of an MBA college, or I'm doing my MTech, and then I'm telling the government, while doing MTech, please give me money. Government said, nah, you are doing MTech full-time job. Pehle complete your course. Right. So I should be in a particular age group, 21 to 24, and I should not be enrolled in a regular program like an MBA degree, MTech degree, etc. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. I should have either completed or final year, ये सब. But I should not have taken admission and say that give me money. No, not allowed. So these are the things. यही है internship. I already taught you this. Now let's look at urban. देखो यही है, because when you look at urban, complex, etc., etc. So make it simple, easy. ये क्या होता है? In urban development, what is the government trying to do? Government is trying to say that let's develop peri-urban area. What is peri-urban area, guys? This is urban. Yeah, this is urban, highly urbanized, and this is rural. In between area, transition area is called peri-urban area. So a lot of workers stay in rural and they come to urban areas for work. So government says, let's develop transportation facilities here. Let's develop resting facilities. Let's create better facilities in the periphery. So that's your first thing. Second is street food hubs. If you want to become a food blogger, there are two professions which are in vogue these days. First is motivational guru, and second is food blogger. Motivational gurus ke liye the Government of India has already launched an award. So it's a digital creator award. I imagine this. When a child is born these days, parents will ask them, what do you want to become? Doctor, engineer, IAS. They'll say, what are you saying, mom and dad? Digital creator. You can have direct access to the best of leaders across the world. We are awarding digital creators. Wow. And my UPSC aspirants are suffering because of, a huge amount of syllabus over their head. So this world is very unique, guys. Now, second, I have seen some UPSC aspirants also change the profession. Don't switch it, please. Ye sab nahi karna. Right? Don't do that. And second is motivational gurus. So Government of India is saying that, and there is food blogging. So Government of India, I also once thought that I'll become a food blogger. Then I realized that I don't get time to eat properly. Right? So street food, Government of India is saying that the street food people, like street vendors, etc., they should be given proper opportunities because they are vulnerable section of the society, and we need to uplift their generation also. So government says, aisa karegi. Like if you go to Madhya Pradesh, guys, I'll tell you one example. Classic. There are many examples. So if you go to Madhya Pradesh, there is a place called as Rajendra Nagar in Madhya Pradesh. So if you go there, there is a chowpatty. So in the evening, if you go there, you get a lot of Chinese food, North Indian, South Indian food, every kind of food. There are stalls in a particular area, very famous. Maybe I'm motivating you to go there. Right? So this street food hubs will be created. It will be easy for the bloggers also. Now, transit development in 14 large cities. What is transit development? The internal transportation system for movement of people. So we are saying make it smooth. It's very dangerous in India. बहुत बेकार है. We have to improve. Next part is stamp duty for women. ये क्या चीज़ है? One of the problems that women suffers in the society, one of the big problems they suffer is of identity. So for example, and this is very sad. So what example is that, suppose that in the family there is a woman and she does not have any property in her own name. So whenever big or small decisions are taken in the family, nobody consults her. People say, "Ha, theek hai, it's okay." Right? We don't respect them. So we are very materialistic by nature. And specifically when it comes to women, unless she has her own identity in terms of doing work, or she has some property in her name or house in her name, kuch nahi to at least one gas cylinder should be there in her name. Ujjwala Yojana. If nothing is there, LPG, kuch bhi nahi hoga, to we don't respect them. So Government of India said, aisa karte hain, to promote women ownership in the property, we have done a few things. PM Awas Yojana. We are saying that, either it should be women owned or jointly. Then we will give you benefit of Awas Yojana. Dekho, identity of the women, Nari Shakti, women empowerment. Second is Ujjwala Yojana, maybe same thing happens. Third is that ration cards. The head of the family has to be the woman, and her name is mentioned on the ration cards under National Food Security Act. Now, one of the things that government is saying, if you buy a property and if you go to register the property, you have to pay some taxes. One of them is stamp duty. So for example, in Delhi, if you buy a property, the stamp duty will be 7% if it is being registered in the name of a male member, 7%. But if it's female, it would be 5%. And many states of India, like I remember once upon a time in Jharkhand, specifically that example, Jharkhand said that I want women to be the owner of all the property, stamp duty 0 for women. So some states have kept it 2%, 3%, 1%. Delhi has also reduced it to 5%. And if it's a joint ownership property in Delhi, then you have to pay 6% stamp duty. For men, 7%, women 5%, joint ownership 6%. So we are motivating that women ownership should increase. So what happened in Jharkhand? A lot of women became the owner of the properties in Jharkhand, right? So which means that the circulation of black money also got a little bit controlled. I'm not saying men only create black money. ऐसा नहीं है. Go to women who are doctors, right? Like my sister. All right. So what do these doctors do? ऐसे ही मुझे याद आ गया. So what do doctors do? Doctors will look at the patients, check the patients. They will take 2,000 rupee fee and not give a receipt. When you ask them for the receipt, that where is the receipt, they will tell, focus on your health. Buy the medicine. Don't take stress. Your BP is very high. Focus on the infrastructure. So what are we doing in the urban area? Awas Yojana. I told you 3 crore extra housing, water, sanitation and waste management. Jaldi naam bataiye. What is the name of the scheme which is taking care of water, sanitation and waste management? Swachh Bharat Mission. Swachh Bharat Mission. So in Swachh Bharat Mission, we are taking care of 3 things now: water, sanitation and waste management. Pehle, in the first phase of Swachh Bharat Mission, it was only sanitation. But now this is waste management also. This is how you complete this part. Easy, hai? So it's not very difficult. Now, next part is this, energy. So how do you promote energy, renewable energy, etc.? Ye dekho. So guys, why is this budget very long? Koi reason? It's not a simple budget. It's last 10 years of government's agenda that is being discussed here. Swachh Bharat Mission discuss karne ka what was the need? Swachh Bharat Mission is not a new scheme. It's such an old scheme, and government is mentioning it in 5 pages, 2 pages in the budget. Why? Because government of India is trying to portray that in last 10 years I have done this, and in the coming 5 years, 6 years, I am going to do this. It's a huge document. Economic survey this year was also bulky, precisely because it was less of economic survey. It was more of last 10 years of report card of the government. So which means that if you're trying to appear in the exam next year, be very careful, because the bulk of the things that you are doing now is valid for next year also. How can Swachh Bharat Mission change? How can PM Awas Yojana change? तो पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा. So let's come to renewable energy. It's super easy. देखो, renewable energy is divided into 2 parts. Energy is divided into 2 parts. First, renewable, because we have made a promise under Paris Convention that we will reduce our carbon consumption. And second is capacity building. So what are we doing under renewable energy? PM rooftop scheme. So if you create solar cells on your rooftop, you get up to 300 units of free electricity, and uske baad you can sell the electricity to Government of India. And to create solar cells on your rooftop, you get subsidy from the government as well. So this is the first scheme. Second, pumped storage facility. Ye kya hota hai? What is pumped storage facility? See this. This is your pumped storage facility. What is that? See. So for example, I create this dam here, and in the dam I put the water reservoir. This is the upper reservoir of water. And then at the lower level, I also put water in the lower reservoir. So now there are 2 different gradations. The first is the upper level, second is the lower level. Then I put a turbine here. If I need huge amount of electricity, suppose that, for example, some big business house of India, they are planning to organize marriage function of their son. Right? They have invited practically everybody in the local area. They need electricity. Right? So what does the Government of India do? Government of India says, don't worry. We have created this reservoir for you, because the moment you require huge electricity, we'll let the water down. And when the water comes, and the gravity also helps the water, the speed is huge, turbine moves very fast, huge amount of electricity created. But suppose entire water is down. And now you need water. Pump the water up. A thoda low electricity will be created, because we are going against gravity, it's anti-gravity. But again, electricity will be created. And this is what you do here in the pumped storage facility. Karne ki kya zarurat hai? Why not a simple device? Why complication? Batata hu aapko. It's very easy to store the coal-based electricity. But how do you store water-based electricity? Solar energy can be stored in solar cell. How do you store this energy? Where will you store this? Which box will you keep to store idle energy? There is no box. That's why it has to be live, like this. So Niti Aayog says that this method in the short term is costly, in the long term it's less costly. Kyun? Because water goes down, water goes up, electricity is generated, use the electricity. Okay? So that is one of the commitments that we have made. Hard to abate industries efficiency. ये क्या होता है? See this. Earlier, the government of India used to tell the industries, if you are manufacturing one pen, you should not release more than 1 gram of carbon. Example. So suppose you are releasing solid 1 cubic centimeter of carbon, because carbon is to be discussed in volumes. Suppose I manufacture one pen. So government of India used to tell me that, hey, please don't release more than this volume of carbon, which is 1 cubic centimeter. इससे ज़्यादा नहीं, for one pen. Now, if in a day you are manufacturing 10 pens, government of India used to say that per pen you should not release more than 1 cubic centimeter of carbon. But many industries used to say in some pen little more carbon, in other pen less carbon is released. Can we take the average? Government said no. But then the government of India has realized that many times the machines are not working very efficiently, etc. Sometimes some pen will have more carbon, some pen less carbon. Government said, chalo, theek hai, let's do one thing. Let's calculate average. So now government of India is saying that per day you should not release this much carbon. More than this carbon per day you should not release. So instead of per pen, it has become per day. So this is the permission we are giving. So efficiency mein, pehle we were saying that hard to abate industry. Matlab there are some industries which cannot fulfill per unit of carbon requirement. They can fulfill the overall carbon requirement. So we are saying, chalo, theek hai, emission targets will be given to you. Per day you can release this. Earlier the target was efficiency target, per pen this. Now we are saying, no, per day this. And what is the last point? MSMEs. We are also trying to tell MSMEs, please MSMEs, use solar energy. MSME says, I don't have money. So government of India says, acha, you don't have money. Then see what you have done for you. So government says, we have this scheme for you. Credit guarantee scheme where you can take up to 100 crore rupees. Use the money, please. So that's why these are connected. Okay, well done. That is done. And what is the next part in the capacity building? Government of India is trying to promote nuclear energy in India. ये वाला part important है. It's a one-line thing only, but it's important. देखो, it says advanced ultra supercritical thermal power plants. ये क्या होता है? What is this? So there are two types of thermal power plants. One which uses coal and which will produce electricity and which will release a lot of ash and which will also release a lot of carbon. Wastage happens, a lot of carbon footprint happens. But there are other type of thermal power plants where they use more sophisticated machines. Their size is less, their size is small, but the carbon emission is less. It's costly to set up those industries, but the carbon emission is less. So government of India is saying we will promote this now, because we have to fulfill the commitment which we have made to Paris Convention of 2030. By 2030, we should reduce our carbon emission. Uske liye we are trying to create this thermal power plants where less energy is released. Infrastructure we have already done. So for example, 11.11 lakh crore we are trying to release. Second is government of India, in addition to the money which we give to states under grants, government has fixed 1.5 lakh crore rupees, and government has said that I am going to give this money to state governments as interest-free loan. And what will the state government do with this money? Create infrastructure. For example, the state government has to create a community center. Bana lo aap. Hospital, you create it, please, using this money. And next part is viability gap funding. Ye kya hota hai? Suppose this road has to be constructed. Government of India calls Tatas and tells them that you please construct the road. Tata says, government, sorry, I can't do it because the cost of the road construction is 100 crores, very costly. So government says, hold on. Whatever is the cost of construction, government says, I am ready to give up to 40% of this. What is 40% of 100 crore? 40 crore. Government says 40 crore rupees I will give you as grant. Remaining 60 crore, Mr. Tata, let's do it through public-private partnership. But 40 crore I am giving you, up to 40 crore I am giving you as grant or gift. Up kar lo. So that up to 40 crore is called viability gap funding. So these are the things which government says government is going to promote. अब ये देखो यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? PM ग्राम सड़क योजना. So government of India is saying that government has identified 25,000 new habitations which were not there. It has been constructed new by the people, new houses. And those houses don't have road in front of them. So government of India is saying that since new houses have been constructed, I am also going to give more roads. So that is why PM Gram Sadak Yojana is going to connect these 25,000 new houses. The next one says irrigation projects. Acha bataiye, tell me something. What is the name of the biggest, one of the best irrigation programs of government of India? PM? Krishi Sinchai Yojana. PM Krishi Sinchai Yojana. This is the scheme. This has two components. Acha bataiye, what are the two types of irrigation? Suppose I am a rich landlord. Do I need small irrigation or big irrigation project? Big. So for me, there is a component called as Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program. So this provides major irrigation or medium-size irrigation. But suppose I'm a very chotu landlord. I have a very small piece of land, a small farmer. I don't require big machines for irrigation. I need drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, per drop more crop. So per drop more crop. So which irrigation will I need? Drip irrigation or minor irrigation. So Government of India has said that for this purpose, this much paisa is being released by the government. So bachcho, are you noticing something? That the moment you read budget like this, ab dekho, I told you, there are two ways of reading the budget. Thank you. There are two ways of reading the budget. First, you read it line by line. Irrigation project, 11,500 crore rupees, and then create 5 memes. And I'll say, ha, theek hai, done. What is the advantage of, where will you use this? The moment you write 11,500 crore, close your eyes and try to imagine that what are the two types of landlords in India? One big landlord, one small landlord. Immediately percentage should come in your mind that if there are 100 farmers in India, roughly 90 farmers are small. For small farmers, you need to give this, called as minor irrigation. And for rich landlords, big farmers, you need to give this also. Because both are our farmers. We have to take care of everyone. Constitution says this, we have to take care of everyone. So now you have to give 11,500 crore. Is tarah se you should prepare for the exam. Then your preparation is complete. Let's come back. What is this tourism? Temple corridors. So what is Government of India doing? Isko to you have to memorize. Ye dekhiye. This I will provide you through handout. So Government of India is saying that I will promote temple tourism. How? So see, Vishnupad temple corridor, Mahabodhi temple corridor, Rajgir, right, Nalanda, Odisha's temple, etc., etc. So this name you have to memorize, and I suggest that you create a map for map work and you mark all these places. History, culture. Okay? So this completes your infrastructure part. Now, last part. Oh, no, one is research. Research wala is very simple. So what is the Government of India doing? 3 cheezein batata hu. Memorize this. It will help you. Dekho bachcho, there are many companies in India who start their factories, but they give up midway. It's like you start your preparation, somebody came and made you negative, you said, ha, theek hai, done. Now, at least when you are preparing, appear in one mock test. Who knows you are the next champion? How will you come to know about it? When you appear in a mock test. So Government of India is saying that if you have started your startup in India or factories in India, hey, don't give up in between. Do one thing, give your best. And if you feel that there is a problem of cash, I will provide you fund so that whatever product is there in your mind, you have decided to create a drone, don't give up in between. I will give you cash so that you can get the best of raw material technology and at least create a prototype, create a sample device. Then we can test it and we can improve it. So for that, what has the Government of India done? Anushandhan National Research Fund. And what is the government saying? That to nudge the companies. So Government of India is saying that, hey, Tatas, you are doing really well. But why don't you manufacture drones in India? So nudge means you are trying to softly, very gently, you are trying to motivate somebody. Right? That, hey, please do it. And for that, government is saying, I am there to give you funds. Next point here, government is saying that Government of India is going to give 14,000 crore. Dekho, there is a box like this. Okay? There will be a box like this. Government of India says in this box, 14,000 crore by government, 36,000 crore by private sector. Public-private partnership. Up government says from here, if any company in India wants to do research and development, you can borrow money from here. How about return the money? Okay, this is public-private partnership, which is government is taking baby steps, small steps towards creating funds to promote research and development. Q, because today, if India earns 100 rupees, we spend 0.65% of our GDP on research. This is laughable. How can we become a superpower? So this is very less. So Government of India is trying to do its bit. और यहाँ पे देखो 1 lakh crore has been reserved by Government of India separately. Government has not laid the proper guidelines that how will government release this 1 lakh crore, but government is saying I have kept 1 lakh crore separate for only research and development. So 3 things already done. First is Anushandhan, second is public-private partnership, third is 1 lakh crore. एक और last है. Mr. Elon Musk is not very happy with India. Right? He's a very unhappy person. So he's unhappy with himself also. So he's very unhappy with India. Why? India did not give him permission to sell Tesla cars. India made a condition that by you produce in India, then you can sell. The second thing which made him unhappy was that he has a space program called as SpaceX. India is also launching its satellites. India has made a record of launching maximum number of satellites through its launch vehicle. And India has become one of the most commercially profitable and viable countries in the world, which launches the satellites of other countries at least cost. So you will see that UAE, France, Germany, they take help of India in launching their satellite because they are saying if they launch the satellite, it will be more costly. If India launches, it will be cheaper. So government of India realized, wow, there is a market for space. Let's promote it. So government of India is saying that government of India expects that in next 10 years, space will become a government of India is saying that in next 10 years, space economy will expand by 5 times. So abhi, if the size of space economy is 1 lakh crore, it will become 5 lakh crore. So government is saying, I am ready to do the research and development for that. So for that, government has set up a 1,000 crore rupees ka fund. That if you want to develop, launch vehicles, if you want to create a space related company in India, aap paise lijiye, government is ready to give you fund and you please start your own company or startups. This is our direction in which we are going. And the last thing for today, this. That's your last part. Now, what is this? It says next generation reform. मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ, how does next generation reform look like? It looks like this. So if you read the next generation reform, I'm telling you that it's going to make you like, I don't know if I should use the word super depressed. I became depressed when I read this. I realized why. I mean, why is it so complicated? But all good things are complicated in life. We have to make them simple. ये देखो, now it looks simple. So government of India, बहुत ध्यान सुना बच्चों, this is very important. Government of India has been telling since last 10-15 years that first generation reforms good, LPG reforms. After that also we took some reforms, second generation, very nice. But everybody has been saying, what about next? So government says this is next. So in the next generation reforms, see, if you look at this, I don't know what is happening. But if you convert this into this kind of diagram, it's so easy because government is doing two things precisely. क्या चीज कर रही है government? Government is saying, simple, microeconomics. What are the factors of production? So government of India is saying, if I have to increase GDP, बच्चों ध्यान से, if I have to increase GDP of India, I should increase production. To increase production, you need factors of production. What are factors of production? Land, labor, capital, enterprise. So government of India is saying, I'll improve all this. Super easy. So that is called as factors of production. And on the other side, government is saying, by how will factors of production combine together to create output? Somebody needs to make investment. But why will people invest if the rules and regulations are very bad in this country? So government is saying, I will make it industry friendly. Investment climate. So there are two things in the next generation reform. So the first thing is land. अच्छा आपको पता है what is going on? What is going on in the villages and towns of India? I'll tell you. So for example, let's say that I stay in a rural area or urban area, it doesn't matter, wherever. I have a piece of land. So there is a team which is doing a survey these days in rural and urban India. They are going to household and they're asking, hey, what's your name? So I'll say that my name is, pata hi aapko. So, Dudi Chua, right? Naini Jayant Singh Roli, right? So my name is that. So then I tell that, okay. So they ask me that, do you have a piece of land? I'll say, I have a piece of land. They'll say, papers, please. I'll show the papers. Now that piece of land will be registered in my name. So what is the government of India doing? Government of India is trying to give me an identity number, an identification for my land parcel. Unique land parcel identification number. That's the name of the scheme, yes, called as Bhu Aadhaar, unique land parcel identification number. So government of India will first identify me. Then they will ask me which land do you own through property papers, etc. Then they will map my name with that land. Then they will do a GPS through satellites. They will identify the boundaries of that land. Then they will convert the local maps because the local maps have all the details of the streets, the water bodies, etc. So those maps, ये देखो यहाँ पे लिखा है, this is called as cadastral map with all the details of the local area. So government of India will convert that into digital map. Through satellite, they already know my land. Now they have already converted cadastral map into detailed map, digital map. Now they will combine these two maps and they will try to identify my land is near which other properties. Then they will give me an identity number. Now in future, if I want to sell my land to somebody, so I will go to the Government of India's office, registry office. They will not ask who you are. They will simply say that, what's your Bhu Aadhaar number? I'll say 110578912131415. They will say, let me put it in the computer. Entire history, geography, biology comes. And they will understand that this is this person, he has this land, he does not have this land, etc., etc., etc. समझ रहे हो आप? Entire history will come in front of us. So state governments were not very eager to do all this. State governments said, "ठीक है, it's okay. Maybe my vote bank will be impacted, or it's very costly to do this kind of survey." So government of India, what did they do? Government of India has allocated 10,000 crore rupees as gift to all the state governments after the budget, mind you. So government of India did it as a le lo paise, but please do it fast. So this is what you will put under land reforms if they ask you this question. Easy? And now next part is labor reforms. So bachcho, which is that section of labor which is most vulnerable, organized or unorganized, informal or formal? Informal labor is very, very vulnerable. So government of India says we should have a record of informal labor. Kahan pe likhoge? Where will you write the records? On a portal called eShram portal. Suppose I am an industry. I am appointing some workers. From where will I get all the permissions related to which law I have to follow? What is the rule related to wages? Where will I get information? That portal is called Shram Suvidha portal. And these days, Government of India has also announced one new thing. Government of India has said that when a child is born in India, so what parents can do is parents can take a small amount and they can start something called as NPS Vatsalya. So for example, National Pension Scheme. So when the child is born itself, after that only you can start depositing some funds. When the child becomes 18 years of age, then the child will take care of the fund. And when the child retires after the work, 60 years of age, the child is going to get the pensions and the money back. 60% money will be given, 40% ka pension, social security. So you don't need for the child to become 18 years of age. The moment the child is born, simple, you can start your NPS Vatsalya scheme. Good scheme, I would say. It's a good savings behavior. And last part is capital. So what is Government of India doing? Government of India is saying that I will promote green finance. If any industry is coming, I will tell the industry to use, clean energy. So for example, industry, I will promote solar energy in the industry. Uske liye industry will say, give me money because I have to buy solar cell. Government says, I will arrange that for you. And next, this is the interesting point. Government of India says, India will never make a plan now only for 1 year capital market, 2 year capital market reform, that this year capital market will behave like this. No, government says we will make a plan for 5 years. So it should be long-term plan and we will follow it consistently. Ye likha hua hai on this side. And the last part is this. What is mentioned here? Ease of doing business will be promoted, you know it. So that licenses become easy, single window clearance. And then you have technology plus digitization in every field, agriculture, industries, services, everywhere this is happening. Ye kya cheez hai? What is the State Business Action Reform Plan? So Government of India, Niti Aayog has given target to every state of India that you also make the rules and regulations which is mentioned in the state list, you make it easy for the industries. For example, when this rule came, UP started to top the charts because they took the maximum number of reforms. Some of the states of India, UP, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat, the Rajasthan, they have been doing really well in this. Karnataka, they have been doing really well. So Government of India gives a ranking to the states that which state of India is taking which reform to promote industries. So that is called as State Business Action Reform. This will be promoted. And you have foreign direct investment. So Government of India is saying that wherever foreign direct investment wants to come, I will keep the sectors open with checks and balances. Like I will not open everything, but I will open it to the extent that it is safe for India. And last part is leasing of aircrafts and ships will be made easy. Kyun? Because we saw during one of the famous weddings in India that almost 100 to 200 aircrafts were leased. So Government of India is saying that now we have so many high-flying CEOs in India also. Bhai. So people require, just like earlier you used to hire Ola and Uber. Like people are hiring aircrafts. So people are hiring Starbucks. So Government of India is saying that there are companies across India and world who want to lease aircrafts in India to Indians. So we should make it smooth and easy for them to do that. Right. So that's your next generation reform. So guys, let's come back. That completes your part other than taxes, because the taxes part I have already given you a small video, the capital gains tax, which I felt was important. The remaining parts will change next year anyway. So these are the important things. So tell me anything that you want to know from me. Did you get a new method to my online student? Did you get a new method of looking at the budget and the survey and the current affairs? This was capacity building class. See, I could have easily taken a lecture with you where we would have completed all these things in hardly 1 hour. It would have not taken more than 1 hour. We just have to read PPTs. But then the problem of this type of analysis is it gives a feel good factor that everything is nice and easy. But when you sit in the exam, then you feel that I made a mistake. But by that time, it's too late. So one should be very careful about compromising the quality of UPSC preparation in the name of saving time. Please save time when it is required. When you should be exhaustive, be exhaustive. Because if you spend half an hour, totally useless. If you spend 2.5 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours, it looks daunting. But in this case, you have covered almost like more than 1 dozen, 2 dozen schemes. So we should follow this method of study. Rest, whatever doubts you have, etc., you can mail me on the official mail of Vajiram. You can mail there, and they will divert the mail to me. I'll definitely take care of it. And I also request you to wait for the handouts, which will be delivered to you through the email. Right. And it was really good to have you guys and have you guys in the class. Kudos to your patience, guys. So when I'm planning the next one, so you will get the information about it and see you in the next class. All right. So thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you all for having this patience. And I know the class was really amazing. So, do it. Can I do it? The class was really amazing, right? Please don't ask me questions regarding the class. But we are launching our economics module from 20th of September. Okay, and this will be for the duration of 3 to 4 months. The classes will be 3 to 4 times a week. So make sure you enroll. The admissions are open, and this will be covering from basics to advanced the all of economics from general studies. Okay, so even if you have not started your NCRTs, you can just come to us. We will take care of it. Go on, ask your doubts, Jayant sir. Okay, thank you all for joining us today. Leave it. It's okay.